All right, folks, we're live. It's Sunday night pop culture. This has turned into an impromptu panel discussion, but you know what? The best things in life aren't planned. So tonight, I'm joined by American Trent 421,
How you doing out there, listeners?
our friend Darth Vader,
How's it going?
and our guest of honor, Ghetto Bible.
Hey, I'm not my brother's keeper, but I am my brother's dealer. How's it going?
So, folks, this was impromptu, like I said, and it's a lot of fun. So we're just going to talk about pop culture tonight. I'm going to let the guests on the panel kind of dictate the flow of the show. It's they can talk about whatever they choose. So I'm just here to kick back, relax, and have some fun with patrons that have helped world-class bullshitters grow. And guys, in front of everybody, I'd like to say thank you. We appreciate it more than you guys can know, and because of you guys, we're able to go to Horror Hound and do all kinds of stuff and help the channel grow. So big props to you guys.
Hey, yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, donating to Patreon is actually a really good thing, I think, to help independent people to, get going, and that way we don't have to just be spammed with MSN shit,
Well, I appreciate it. Guys like you have helped us stay out of multi-channel networks and stuff like that. So we're
Jeff,
able to stay truer.
With all the content you guys have provided, and now with me getting into James Bond about, probably 15 years too late. Never too late, I guess. But
Nope.
I appreciate, all the content you guys have given and being on the show now for, second or third time being able to talk to you guys. And I appreciate it. And I'm glad to be a patron, and I'll keep supporting you guys. Just don't buy any drugs with it, but if you do, you got to share.
Well, our drug loving bullshitter has left the show, so we're clean now.
Yeah, that's good for him. Good for him.
By the way, okay, Darth Vader.
Good. Well, I was just going to say, it's from my point of view anyway, it's the least I can do for people like you and EVS and Jeremy and Doomcock, people, that are kind of giving all of us a voice. Y'all have a pretty big following, so I think it's the least that I can do anyway.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, there are days where it's like, man, some days it seems like a huge task, and then we get days like this, and it's a lot of fun. But I wouldn't change it for the world. So, thanks. That's all I can tell you guys is thank you, and we'll keep working to not, to keep giving you guys stuff that you want to listen to all the time. And Trent, you got to come on a James Bond commentary with us.
Oh no, it's gonna happen. Now like I said, I got into this mainly because I hear you guys talk about the time. I mean, it's one of those things where James Bond was, to me, cool, but I just wasn't. I thought, just a British spy, and there's weird, opening themes, and there's hot chicks. I get it, but I wasn't interested enough to jump in. I should have just been interested enough at hot chicks, but I just was. I wasn't thinking. There's like too many years of not being into it. I had played the video game Nightfire a little bit with friends when I was growing up. Good game, I remember, just through multiplayer mainly. But then I heard you guys talking about it and the passion for it. I thought, well, shit, these guys have been right 99.99% of the time before with movies, so I might as well check it out. And I think I caught GoldenEye on AMC, and it was like, oh yeah, Pierce Brosnan, he's probably my tied favorite with Connery just based off of what I'd already known. That wow, this is a badass movie. Then I caught, I think, License to Kill with Timothy Dalton. I know not probably the best one, but I enjoyed Robert Davies' attempt to be Cuban. And I think Tim Dalton was probably the next actual Bond after Sean Connery, because Roger Moore he didn't seem like he was an extension of Connery's Bond, just in the ones I saw of him. So I've seen Moonraker and A View to a Kill, and it's like, oh, no. Roger Moore, God rest his soul, seems like he was one of the nicest people ever, but he was not James Bond. He just didn't fit it.
Hell no.
But now I've just seen today, Dr. No, loved it. Ursula, that weird named woman, wow.
Ursula
Andress, beautiful. Just starting Russia with Love actually tonight when I got the message for the hangout. Watching that, so I'm catching up slowly but surely. And from what I can tell, yeah, James Bond, there's a reason it's been around for 24 now 25 movies. in over 50 years. It's good, and it hasn't been. I mean, it's had bad entries, but it has not been polluted like Star Wars has been. And knock on wood, it continues to remain undirtied, unsoiled.
They tried a little bit back in 1987 with The Living Daylights. They tried to make him less of a womanizer, and they talk about it in the movie. She's like, "Oh, it's different times, James." But in the next movie, they go right back to that shit. So,
yeah, I was gonna say he kind of really he fucks up with the one girl he ends up with, but in the end,
she was married to Richard Gere in real life.
Really? Well, good for Dick.
Ghetto Bible, what are your thoughts on 007 since Trent opened with that?
Well, I haven't seen all the movies, but I have enjoyed just about most of them that I have seen. I would love to see some more come out. I'm just hoping that they don't go with this, changing them up too much. I don't really want to see, like some kind of a transgendered or gay black blonde or something like that running around.
Yeah, neither do I. That's not the character. People of every color and race can like, or an orientation can like 007 as is. It doesn't make him, a bad character.
No, I mean, they should probably just, if they want Idris Elba so bad, which I think he's a great actor, bring him in as another 00. Have him go on a mission with James or have some interaction with James in the office. And personally, I hope, because Daniel Craig, I don't think I've seen most of Casino Royale, liked it. I have not seen Quantum of Solace. I have not seen Skyfall, and I saw just the tail end of Spectre. I think he's decent. He's a little more of a bulkier guy, but he's in shape guy, so he fits the mold. The blondish hair and blue eyes is a little bit off-putting, but is a reboot of the movies essentially. I just hope the next Bond fits the more traditional Fleming view you always bring up, Jeff. I would love Henry Cavill. I know you brought it before and thought, Superman, really? No. Then I looked into it and thought about it, and he just fits the mold almost to a T. And then I know that Ghetto Bible talked about SJW interference with pop culture being a big talking point tonight. And I'm assuming you've heard I think you guys mentioned on the podcast the comments that Henry Cavill made regarding Me Too movement and how obviously no one will ever defend rape. That's a terrible thing. That's not the point. It was him saying that false accusations or other SJW things have tainted the idea of it in some cases, and people, especially those who are rich or famous, now they're scared of false accusations early in their careers. And his whole thing about traditionally wooing a woman and trying to avoid this and that, it's kind of like something James Bond might actually say or think. So maybe he is James Bond.
I never thought of it like that. What about you, Darth Vader?
I came up in the 90s, so I always did enjoy Pierce Brosnan. And I do like Idris Elba a lot. I kind of like the idea of him being another 00 instead of 007, though. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of perverting the character maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's a fine actor. He can be in James Bond movies. They can have a female 00 agent. That's not a problem. But let's have him like James Bond is James Bond, and then have other people involved. Like The Spy Who Loved Me book. He doesn't even show up till the second half of the book. So if you have to have something like that, just have him show up later in the movie and then close it out. Awesome.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would definitely wouldn't hate seeing him in one of the movies, for sure. Just not as James Bond, I guess.
Well, I don't know why they just don't, just do like American said. Why not just have him as another agent or whatever, do a movie around that? I mean, it seems unorthodox, but it could work. I mean, it wouldn't pollute the character or anything like that. And I think that it would be a good way to get them to have women agents, POCs, etc., without messing with James Bond's character.
Yeah. It's tiring at this point too, but you kind of have to keep battling these people because it's like, first off, you have to preface that you have no problem with these, progression. That's not a problem at all. But it's like, leave the good shit alone and make new stuff. Those people just need to get it through their heads. Like, hey, if I want to see this, I'll make it myself. Your ideals can be put on paper to a T if you do it yourself. No one can pervert or to change it, and you don't have to pervert or change anyone else's interests. You're going to piss off more than just random white dudes.
Yeah, Jeff, you bring up create your own thing. Don't pervert a established franchise. Look at John Wick, Red Sparrow movie, Atomic Blonde. Action. Of course, the first one I mentioned is the greatest fucking thing ever right now. In my opinion, I love John Wick 1 and 2. There are ones. Atomic Blonde, I think I haven't seen it, but she did a decent job. Red Sparrow, I heard was garbage. But you know what? They're all original works, from at least what I'm aware of. Do something like that. Make an agent. Do another original if you want to have something like that. Just don't mess with what is already established, like they did with Star Wars. I mean, you hear about always having to keep our eyes open for this kind of stuff on the pop culture we love, or the sports we love, or wherever it might be. You think about it. I mean, the thing with Scarlett Johansson recently, huge news. She was cast as a transgender man or well, I guess man or woman. I guess it doesn't really trans. Who knows? Tomato tomato, right? I mean, whatever that plot was going to be. But she was going to be cast as a transgender character in a movie. The SJW crowd hated that idea. Started attacking her. Called her boycotts of her, sort of up in the air Black Widow movie that's supposed to be coming eventually. Going after her personally, going after the directors, and she bows out. I mean, here's the thing. In most issues, everyone I think knows this. Scarlett Johansson is a very liberal woman, and has had SJW comments made. She's made those in the past. Essentially, she's on their side with most of their own issues, but one little thing comes up, and they blow up on her. They're tearing each other apart in that instance, and it's honestly kind of amusing.
Well, if there is an us and them dynamic to all this, all we, in quotations, have to do is wait, because all they're going to do is tear themselves apart. Like Scarlett Johansson is the first example. You can never be progressive or SJW enough for these people. You always got to be like extreme. And we're not even talking about other politics and stuff like that. We're talking straight up movies and entertainment.
Yeah.
And those people are the face of it because they have a wider reach. They have celebrity, and that's dangerous.
Oh, very true.
And I think it's funny too, because they're always up in arms about people getting onto the actors. They're just playing a part, and you can hate the character, but you shouldn't spread that hate to the actors. And then they turn around and do it with Scarlett Johansson. I think that's kind of funny how hypocritical they are, really.
They did the same thing with what's her face, Rose Tico. We all don't like Rose Tico, but no one really hates on Kelly Marie Tran. Like any joke is like, oh, this Rose Tico haircut is stupid, or she looks frumpy in a jumpsuit, blah 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 blah. But then when you see real pictures, people are like, oh, she's good looking, this, that, and the other. So, I mean, I think the fans, and I just mean all fans, not just fans of this channel or the other High Council channels, but fans of entertainment in general, people are smart enough to know the difference. But the media and the people that are trying to push that narrative refuse to believe that the fans can separate the dichotomy, but they just go for it.
Well, I find that kind of funny that with the Rose Tico situation, that if you don't like Rose Tico, then you're somehow sexist or misogynist, that sort of thing, or racist. But when it comes to ScarJo playing this part, they just turn on her like a pack of dogs on meat. It's crazy because they can't separate the character from the actor, and in ScarJo's case, it's the same thing. They're blaming us for their own craziness,
Oh yeah, dude! It's like I love Harrison Ford, and I love the movies Harrison Ford's in. Like I love Indiana Jones and Han Solo, but I know he's not that hero or that guy, so I can separate the fact that if I ever did meet him, he probably wouldn't be as friendly as I hope. So I can temper my expectations, but I'm also realistic to that. I mean, it goes both ways. I'll reiterate, we're not dumb as a fandom. I think the people that have these ideals aren't necessarily as crazy as the other side, if there is this us and them type of thing. Well, real quick, we just got a super chat from Art Vandelay that says, "I prefer Our Man from Flint." Just kidding, or Our Man Flint. Yeah, with James Coburn. I like those movies. And then the Grand Inquisitor says James Bond is James Bond because of the story. In Skyfall, his real name is not a cover. Elwood could be given the number 007, but he can't be James Bond.
There you go. That's a good way to take care of that one theory you bring up all the time, which is baseless essentially. But we go back to the talking about Star Wars and the franchises and all that. And when everyone says, "Oh, you're sexist for not liking Rose Tico," God, I have to make a comment about Roger Moore's James Bond. I didn't care for him. I think he was a hell of a nice guy. Rest in peace. But you know what? He just didn't fit the continuation of the Bond for the type of character that James Bond's supposed to be. Does that mean I hate all white men and I'm a sexist? Well, I am. No, I'm not, and because I'm a white male. I mean, you have to look at it like dead on. I mean, if you dislike anything, it does not mean you're doing it for reasons other than the face value. I know we're not talking about Kelly Marie Tran's face. She's a very beautiful woman. She's a good actress, I believe. She just had a bad script and was given a terrible character that they made bad on purpose, from the words of Ruination himself. So, I mean, me not liking Roger Moore's James Bond is just like me not liking Kelly Marie Tran's Rose Tico. No sexism, no bias involved behind that opinion. It's based off the entertainment that they gave, which was like -5.
Lack thereof.
Exactly.
Yep.
Midnight Cherry TV said, heard of Jimmy's Bastard comic, Bond versus his kids. Have you guys heard of that?
I have not.
No, but that sounds like that movie Delivery Man with Vince Vaughn. Like him versus like 10,000 kids. It's a glorified sperm donor. Unless Dr. No's radiation really did kill the baby batters, I think Kendo put it.
I love how Dr. No essentially just boils to death in that suit.
You mean in that makeup bag? Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
It ripped off so much from didn't rip off, but like that the Austin Powers movies, when his spacesuit has that same damn like helmet set pretty much. Oh god.
Moon Unit Alpha and Moon Unit Zappa. those movies are great.
They really are.
Speaking of comedies and shit, what are some comedies you guys are into? Like, I know we always talk about Star Wars and action flicks, which I can talk about all day, but I'm just curious to like what kind of comedies do you like, since you brought up Austin Powers?
Well, okay, so Austin Powers, at least the first two. I didn't hate the third one at the time. And it's because of Michael Caine was hilarious, talking about the bloody Dutch and all that shit. That was classic. But comedies, I think you gotta look back. There are very few from the 60s I can laugh at, because I guess there wasn't much comedy going on, but different time and place. But get in the 70s, I mean, Slapshot is hilarious. If you haven't seen that movie, you have to. Paul Newman, hilarious movie. The Sting, Blazing Saddles, and you got Animal House, Caddyshack, all of the National Lampoon's Vacation movies, all the Fletch movies, anything with John Candy, Bill Murray, Stripes, Ghostbusters, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, Great Outdoors. You can name about 20 to 30 good comedies alone from the mid 70s to like 1990. That's how good it was. So anything from that time, but really, if it's a good comedy, I'm probably a fan of it as well. There's very few comedies that are out there people consider funny that I do not. The only one I can probably think of is I saw half of it. Probably didn't give it another watch, but I did not like it all. 21 Jump Street. I did.
Oh, my heart is broken, Trent.
I didn't like the first half, but the one part I did actually like was Channing Tatum for once. I thought he was the better of the two.
I think the reason I enjoy that movie so much is because I'm like the same age as Schmidt and Jenko would be. And for a couple years, because I had to take a year break from college. And when I went to college, I felt like there was this weird gap between me and the other people that were, I was 24 and they were 21. So it really wasn't much of a gap. But still, I felt that weird, like, what the hell happened to people that are younger than me type of thing. So I kind of had that going on. So I really associated with that movie, or identified with that movie strongly.
Association and identification with a movie makes it 10 times as better in our own eyes. It really does. And it was Star Wars, obviously we don't have any old guys trying to take us on a space adventure. Hopefully not. He's probably a pedophile. I'll double check him. But, everyone loves Star Wars for that kind of association, in that wanting to, have adventure and you look off in the sunset, that sort of mentality. I look at, Animal House. I thought was a funny movie before, when I seen it. And then I remember first time I ever took a trip to a college campus on a Friday night and went and did some homework with the students, with my fellow students. Yeah, I'm full of shit. I went out there and had a good time at the frat houses. After, doing that, and then the next day, catching Animal House on TV, I was like, I saw that. I did that. Oh, that's funny. Oh, damn. You can relate to something, and it's hilarious. I'm sure that you enjoy Animal House a little bit more after going to college, Jeff.
Hell yeah, I've lived that for years.
And there you go. And that's why it's good. That's why it's good.
What about you, Ghetto Bible? What are some comedies you're into?
Newer ones would be the 21 Jump Street. I like Role Models a lot. Caddyshack is a great classic. I thought the whole character Bill Murray was hilarious, especially with him making the animals out of explosives.
I like Role Models. I'm glad you brought that one up. I saw that, and then I Love You, Man. Those are two more modern comedies that I liked so much that I had to go out and buy them.
Step Brothers, modern comedies. Step Brothers.
Oh,
yeah, I got that on Blu-ray.
The lines from that are just so, they're so fucking quotable. I mean, it's so much good. I don't know if I can even maybe say them on Patreon. I don't know if I can even say them on YouTube. That's how good they are.
Do we just become best friends? Yep.
There you go. What's one? Oh! I just rubbed my nutsack on your drum set. Oh, my drum set's a guy.
So that makes you gay, you fucker. I love Step Brothers so much.
Oh God. We turn our beds into bunk beds. It'd be a great place. So much extra space to do activities.
You're 40 years old. Do what you want or whatever.
I don't give a fuck. And am I not saying this right? I don't care. Okay, great. And then she goes, "Yes, you can turn into bunk beds."
I think one of my favorite parts of the movie is when he calls him Dr. Doback. He's like, "Please call me Robin." Robert. He's like, "Okay, Robin." He's like, "Robert," and he just doesn't say anything back.
Or no. What's he go? He goes like, "Mom, Mr. Doback."
Yeah, Mr. Doback.
I said you didn't need to call me Mr. Doback. All right, I apologize, Mom. Doback. Yeah. Holy shit, we gotta go watch party on Step Brothers sometime.
That wouldn't be a watch party as much as a quote-a-thon.
Well,
yeah.
Hey, let's spread the humor. I mean, this is a very dark time in entertainment. We need to laugh, or we're all gonna just implode. So we should, spread the comedy.
What about you, Darth Vader? What are some comedies you're into?
Blazing Saddles is one of my favorite movies, just in general. I love that movie. And then like Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore and Big Daddy. I love some of the earlier Sandler movies. I was gonna say Step Brothers would be way up there on my list of comedies. So that'd be a few of them anyway. I'd have to think about it. There's seen so many of them. It's hard
Real
to.
Quick, Tippy Tail McKitty, thank you very much for your super chat. No message, but we still want to thank you.
You bring up Step Brothers. Another one that's Will Ferrell comedy that's modern, a lot of people don't talk about as much, which I think is funny as hell, is The Other Guys. Especially if you watch You've never seen The Other Guys?
Nope. As much as I love The Rock, I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, you need to watch it. Get the Blu-ray. It has a theatrical and extended cut. Extended cut's a little bit better. But, it's got Mark Wahlberg and his... they did that Daddy's Home movies, and to be honest, the second one was okay. The first one I thought was crap. I don't care for him. But Wahlberg and Farrell have good chemistry, and that is some of the shit from that movie is almost as quotable as Step Brothers. Not as, but it's a very good movie. I don't want to spoil it for you, but the premise essentially is Wahlberg's, your hot shot, typical, want to be the big name homicide detective who shot Derek Jeter. That's why he's demoted. Will Ferrell. Yeah, no, and before the World Series, by the way. Before the World Series. No, there's actually one scene where he's like in a support group for guys that got in like serious gun battles on the force in New York City. And he's going, I live it every night. Game 7 of the World Series. I'm doing tunnel duty. Guy starts jogging down the tunnel with a bat. I tell him to stop. I raise my gun. I tell him again to stop. He doesn't hear me. Has him shooting. He rolls the guy over, and it just cuts. And he just goes, "You dick! I'm Derek Jeter. You shot me. You cut me $20,000 on that game, dickhead. You should have shot A-Rod." No, it's great. And then Will Ferrell's character is like this guy who's like an accountant for the police department, and just barely doesn't. He's gonna get like moved to investigate him, so he partners up with Wahlberg, and he's such like a goon, but he used to be like a real badass in college, and it's like funny. He just I can't say it because I'm gonna spoil it for you, but it's so fucking good. Everyone knows this line, but Gator needs his gat, you punk ass bitch, is one of the best Will Ferrell lines I've ever heard.
I will watch it. Trust me, I'll watch it. I had a chance to see it when it came out, but I didn't see it.
And that is why you fail.
Thanks, Yoda. Nah, dude, I wish you would have seen me when I watched Step Brothers for the first time. The people in my dorm room were like, "Are you okay?" Because I was laughing so hard.
That was me with the other guys. Step Brothers was the same way, but I seen it on TV, so it wasn't as funny the first time. But the other guys was on like pay-per-view. I think I was like, I was probably like 14 or 15. So like it kind of hit me to some of the jokes, and everyone's were just still too funny. And I fell out of the chair a few times. I was dying.
I mean, technically, this movie's a classic, but Dumb and Dumber, that still sticks with me to this day. Even though it's not like the funniest movie I've ever seen, it's one of the best comedies I've ever seen.
Oh, you mean it's one of the really good movies, and Harry's girlfriend, was talking about how he's unattached, doesn't pay attention, or something like that. I wasn't really listening. But,
a John Deere letter?
John Deere. Oh, God, no, that's a great one. The second one, it's like Indiana. Honestly, I think Dumb and Dumber 2 was a worse sequel to Dumb and Dumber 1 than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was to Last Crusade. Dumb and Dumber 2 was dumb, not in a good way.
It was dog shit. And Dumb and Dumber, which was the prequel.
That's not a movie. That's not a movie. That's a joke.
Real quick, Aaron Cook sent in a super chat. No love for Freddy Got Fingered when it comes to modern comedies. Troll. Well, Aaron Cook, I own that movie on DVD, so you can troll all you want, but I like Freddy Got Fingered. Anytime I think of, what's his name? Bob. Anybody that I meet, his name is Bob, I think of that 40 million fucking Deutschmarks, you're fucking fired, Bob line. Because he like scream. Have you ever seen that movie, guys?
No, I've never seen Freddy Got Fingered.
It's stupid. But he's at dinner with this girl and he's trying to impress her, so he acts like he's an international businessman. He's like, 40 million Deutschmarks, you're fucking fired. And then it's just stupid. And then there's a part where his friend breaks his leg, and Tom Green goes over there and licks the guy's broken bone in his wound. It's crazy. Like, the movie's so dumb, you have to see it.
This sounds like a parody for The Wolf of Wall Street, like The Lamb of Wall Street or something like that.
It's something. I don't know what the hell I'd call it.
It sounds like Cecil would be in this movie. Like, he'd be the main guy.
Well,
like, this is like 2008 Cecil.
Dude, the movie's from 2001. The premise of the film is Tom Green is a wannabe cartoonist who packs up and goes to California and tries to pitch his cartoon. But in the meantime, he gets a job in a factory making cheese sandwiches. And it's just bizarre. And then he fails and he moves back home, and him and his dad basically have a psychological warfare battle. And I can't describe it. It's almost mean-spirited, but it's fucking hilarious.
Talk about psychological battles. Go back and listen to our Sunday Night Toy Talk we had a while back. I want you to take a shot for every time I say 100%. You'll be fucked up halfway through our stream.
I like my life too much. I don't want to die right now, guys.
Oh, I'll make a point not to say 100% anymore, because I think Jeremy said that a lot in the One High Council. I start saying 100%. Totally agree with you, 100%. Except Jeremy, I did not agree with you 100% because Force Awakens sucks ass. God damn
it. Jeremy, somebody made a meme of Jeremy on the Facebook page today.
No, I'll check that out. No, he's a good guy. We love Jeremy, but Force Awakens, I don't know. Your reaction coming out of that movie, I think a lot of people listening and part of the stream probably was, this is the worst thing ever, my God. But when I first saw it, I had seen Revenge of the Sith in theaters first night, loved it. had saw Phantom Menace 3D. It was just as bad as watching it on DVD, but it was okay. It was 3D. It was an excuse to go see a Star Wars movie that was actually Star Wars. Seeing Force Awakens, I think it was second or third day it was open with a buddy. I was locked in. I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to see Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher on screen in the Star Wars movie in the theater, just like they did in 77. Hopefully it's as good. It's going to be awesome. I can't believe I've seen the title screen starts and you hear the music. Doesn't sound the same, but still, Star Wars, holy shit, here we go. You get to the opening, oh, there's a Star Destroyer doing that thing that's over Tatooine. That's a ripoff. I see you, JJ. Okay, I'm there. I'm locked in. And then when I see and Kendall will appreciate this, the flying space Spiggins boats. They land on Jakku Normandy Beach. I was like, wait, what? What? Then I think it really struck me when the guy gets, hit the blast bolt and Finn goes to rescue him. And when he puts the blood on his helmet, I was like, wait a minute, that should be cauterized. Oh, God damn it. And then we just progressed to the point in the movie was like, well, Han Solo's dead. Luke's there for 5 seconds. Carrie Fisher didn't do shit. C-3PO's got a damn red rocket arm. What the hell happened there? R2D2 had a stroke. Poe's trying to bang Finn, and it's okay, but there's no character development there. So I was like, okay, this is kind of forced. This is a diversity thing or something like that. This is kind of forced me because I think Finn has a hot for Rey, and I was kind of hoping they'd kiss in that movie because it would have made some kind of dynamic along the lines of, at that time, it was Han, Luke, and Leia, but that never actually got fully developed. So that's a missed opportunity. Again, thanks a lot, Jar Jar. And just the whole thing with, him getting beat by her and the lightsaber calling to her and all that shit. It was for how good I felt in the first 3-5 minutes of that movie, how bad I felt walking out and then watching it when it came out on Blu-ray was when I reached the, fuck this movie status, as you'd put it. So oh God, it was just such a letdown. It really was.
I love how you tell me that story is making me, visibly depressed. Like you don't see it, but I can just see my skin starting to lighten up. I'm getting pale. I'm kind of tired. slurring my words. I don't want to go back to 2015.
Okay, are you gonna tell me that there's another Skywalker?
There's not shit anymore, man. I don't care.
Okay. Maybe we can cheer you up. Okay. The Pinto, the Nina, the Santa Maria. Do you in the bottom on drinking sangria? Byron has his lemon, has in my dad's boat. We ain't got work because my dick can float. Boats and hoes. Come on, Jack, go get those boats and hoes.
Oh God!
Happy now?
Deadliest
Happy.
catch without the crabs. We're almost out of gas to call the Arabs. I'm a pussy pirate. My name is Jack Sparrow. Pull down my pants so you can see my flesh arrow. I told you I've seen that movie so many times. I've seen Step Brothers more than I've seen any of the Star Wars prequels.
And now you're laughing because we just jumped from 2008 to 2018. What happened to me? We don't know. We don't care.
Hey, how about some love for Talladega Nights?
I like Talladega Nights. I saw that shit at theaters.
Hey, not only that, but hey, just remember, if you don't chew Big Red, then fuck you.
What?
That's in the movie. That's in the movie. He's doing commercials.
Oh, okay. I got it. I haven't seen it since it came out. 2006?
Yeah, that was a good movie. Sacha Baron Cohen's now an asshole, but that's a good movie.
Sire J. Longstroke says, world-class bullshitters. I was confirmed by a Chinese friend that what I thought was Baizu pronounced Baisua. Baisua is a real word to describe SJW's self-described moral superiority. So it's Baisua. I'll try to pronounce that properly.
Are we getting trolled, Jeff? Baisua? I don't know. I'll look into that.
I know that the word is real. I just didn't know how to pronounce it.
Baisua.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Well, it's definitely not like Mike Kuntz. It's not that. So, I'm not trying to trick us like that.
Well, Sire J. Longstroke is a longtime listener, so
okay. Well,
I recognize the name.
I trust him.
Now, what were you saying, Ghetto Bible?
I was just gonna say, I don't know about that pronunciation, but then again, I don't speak the language, so I can't say 100%.
I don't know Mandarin, and I don't plan on ever learning it. So,
hey, we just need to get Dr. No to translate it for us.
East, west, all directions in the compass.
No, Doctor. What did Kendo say it was in the patron commentary? Dr. No. Well, if he's German and Japanese, so he's was it like Natsanese or something?
I don't remember. Dude, when we recorded that commentary, I had just been really sick, and that was like the first day I could do anything.
Oh God, I think he ended up calling Dr. No's whole like last name was Dr. No Bing Bong, Hepper Kaiser Heifer or something like that. I don't know what the hell. He gave the guy a weird ass extended name.
A golden kendo moment.
It was a golden kendo moment. It's also about as golden as I found out the guy playing Dr. No was actually a Canadian white guy. That was.
Oh yeah, Joseph Wiseman.
Yep.
He's in a great episode of The Twilight Zone you should watch. It's about an underground bunker. I don't really want to tell you anymore, but you should just definitely Google Joseph Wiseman Twilight Zone. If you have Netflix or Hulu. Yeah. Then it's on there. Just watch it. It's worth a watch. Trust me. You'll be surprised by the twist.
Gotcha. Real quick, we talked about sequels and all that, and how Dumb and Dumber 2 is let down to Dumb and Dumber 1. This came to mind. A boss of mine, huge fan of Top Gun, may not kendo level, but huge fan, was talking about how they're thinking of starting up the movie and all that, and doing the sequels. Pretty much, it's going to happen. From what I've garnered, it's going to happen. It's going to be made. Not sure they start filming yet, but it will be soon. He was saying he really hopes they can tie Kelly McGillis back in. So I was like, have you seen the meme that's going around Facebook? He goes, oh, no. How's she doing? Pulled the picture. He goes, looks like Goose when we didn't clear the canopy. Yeah, I don't think is she going to be in that movie? Do we know?
I don't know, but she has not aged well.
Nope. I don't know. Maybe Scientology got all the answers. Maybe there's something in the Scientology water where you got to start drinking to stay young. I don't know. Because Tom Cruise pulled it off.
I'm gonna see the movie for Kendo's sake because he wants to do it for the channel. But other than that, I'm not excited for Top Gun 2 at all.
So you don't have the need for speed?
No, just
quality.
I don't know. I was gonna make it. Yeah. Real quick, Sills says, I'm the backwards man. The backwards man. That's from Freddie Got Fingered. Thank you, Sills Will. And then Sills Will also said, your voice is like a combination of Fergie and Jesus.
Are you shitting me right now?
I've been called the songbird of my generation.
And hey,
yeah, I think we could quote that all night.
Don't tempt me.
No, we could quote all night because it's the fucking Catalina wine mixer.
The fucking Catalina wine mixer. Oh my god. So what are some other topics you guys want to cover?
I'm game for whatever. I'm kind of here by accident, so I'm just along for the ride.
Well, Ghetto Bible, you pick something, dude.
Yeah, because I'm just sitting here I'm just sitting here for the pause from Russia with Love. I'm just here.
Well, what part are you at?
We just left the office and getting the briefcase from him.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I think we should see what the fans want to talk about.
There we go.
There you go, folks out in the comments section. What do you guys want to talk about? I see people saying Fergus. I do not like Top Gun. By the Ocean. Midnight Cherry TV wants to know, Ghetto Bible, do you like Static Shock?
Of course.
Sills Will super chat and said, we put liquid paper on a bee. It died.
Dirty scientific research. We put liquid paper on a bee. It died.
So somebody wants to know about that She-Ra. Have you guys heard about She-Ra Power Princess, the remodel or the reboot or whatever?
I only know two princesses. That's Diana and Organa.
Well, Princess, do you know Ghetto Bible?
Yeah, I have not heard of it. What is going on with it?
They redesigned the character to look less feminine and more masculine or whatever. And it's like when they redid Thundercats and now they're redoing She-Ra Power Princess. It's weird that these people are appropriating properties that they weren't even around for. Like some girl that's younger than I am is like redesigning She-Ra Power Princess. I'm like, look, I get it that you may have seen it on videotape, but you weren't consuming this show in constant reruns and all this other shit like you claim to be. Like, here's this weird thing. Like, if you grew up in a certain era before YouTube and stuff, like you weren't able to watch a lot of these shows readily. So I don't know how these people became such huge fans that they claim to be.
My question is, why do they keep making feminine characters looking more masculine? I don't understand this. So, I mean, does her looking girly make her take away her powers or something? I don't understand this sort of thinking that they keep doing with this sort of character design.
You know, here's an input. Strange enough, Jeff, I don't know if you might have seen the commercials. You seen the new Diet Coke commercials? For their
I have not.
Diet Coke. Okay, you have not.
Wait, was it the one where the girl's walking down the street?
Yeah, there's one with. I think there's one with a girl and there's two with two different guys.
I've only seen the one with the girl because they play it at my movie theater all the time.
Well, here's the thing about. By the way, I haven't tried the new Diet Coke flavors yet, but I mean that just sounds stupid. But whatever. Okay, it's not like new Coke, but it's just whatever marketing. You see the commercials they do, and the one guy does his thing. I swear to God, I think the woman was more manly and authoritative than the guy doing his Coke commercial. I could not tell, other than the one had longer hair than the other. The girl had longer hair than the guy by like 2 inches. Only way I could tell which one was actually the man, which one was the woman. It's pretty much the same damn thing. So you talk about defeminizing or making more masculine. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's something with SJW culture where they want everyone to essentially be like a gray area. I don't know. They don't everyone be dong lover. They want to all be pansexual. EVS's worst nightmare.
The weird thing is about all these messages and entertainment and advertising is like your average everyday person doesn't
give a shit.
Go by that shit. So they're just going to be like, no thanks.
Because if I see a commercial with that guy, you know, fucking a pop machine, I'm going to be turned off to that product. I'm sorry.
Real quick, I've been alerted that it's actually She-Ra, Princess of Power. So, my mistake, Jeremy Peerboom. I apologize. I've never seen the damn show. Claustoric has a question, though, for all of us. What are y'all's favorite Chris Farley performances?
Okay, I'd have to say, other than the guy, I don't know what the hell the character's name was, but on SNL.
Matt Foley?
Was it the guy who always, with the glasses, would come in and get in like his sister's boyfriend's faces and give him shit? Is that the guy?
Living in the van down by the river guy?
Maybe he lived with his parents, and I think that the thing was anytime a relative or his sister would bring a boy over, he'd get all like in this guy's face and scream at him and shit. That was his best SNL guy. And maybe it was fat guy, little coat. I don't know, but he's wearing like a suit jacket and these big like Clark Kent glasses.
Yeah, that's Matt Foley.
Okay, so yeah, Matt Foley. That's a great one. Just watching reruns of his stuff, obviously, because he's before my time. But for movie wise, I mean, I like Tommy Boy, but not to people, the level others do. I really enjoyed Almost Heroes with Matthew Perry, the spoof.
His last movie, right?
Lewis and Clark. I think so. And I enjoyed it, every time when he's trying to get the egg to treat Matthew Perry, who's dying of something, like a cold or a virus. And every time he goes to get the egg, the eagle keeps flying back and just beating the shit out of him. And by the time he reaches the Pacific Ocean, he's climbing down with the flag so he can plant it and beat Lewis and Clark. And he gets right past like the midway point and looks to his right, sees another eagle's nest, looks over the ocean, and I hear, "Oh!" and the fucking eagle comes in. He goes, "Bring it on, you goddamn dirty bird!" He's getting kicked off the cliff, and flown way over the ocean fighting this damn bird. And he gets dropped in the water. I think he's dead. He got dropped like 50 feet. He should be dead. But, he's probably on some kind of drug, so he pulled through. And he just comes charging out of the water, carrying the flag and plants it. And they beat Lewis and Clark. He is so funny in that movie. I forget what the name of the character was, but the whole... it has a terrible, critic rating. But, The Last Jedi has like a 90-something, or the fuck it is, the critics gave it. So let's be honest. What do they know? It's a funny movie, and probably his best.
Ghetto Bible?
Well, for Chris Farley, I have to say Tommy Boy is one of my favorite movies. Beverly Hills Ninja is also pretty good. And I think the best work he's done was him and Adam Sandler in early SNL sort of skit where they do a commercial for Straussen's Gay or something like that.
Oh, Schlitz Gay?
Yeah, that's it. That has
the
funniest things I've ever seen. Especially when at that time, the Bud Light commercials and stuff with the chicks coming out, and it's mocking that. And you have all these dudes, and Chris Farley's just sitting there with the camcorder, and he's videotaping all these guys and stuff like that. It's hilarious.
That's where we get the Chris Farley meme on the GIF on Facebook, where him flipping the sunglasses up. Oh God, Schlitz Gay. That is funny.
What about you, Darth Vader?
Tommy Boy would definitely be my favorite of the movies of his that I've seen. Beverly Hills Ninja cracks me up. Black Sheep was really good. That was really funny. But yeah, Tommy Boy. My whole family quotes Tommy Boy. Tommy want wingy and all that kind of good stuff. So that's probably my favorite of the ones I've seen anyway.
I mean, okay. Yeah, I'll give it to Tommy Boy too, but there's one where he's in, I think it's Dirty Work, where he's plays this guy. He's like, a goddamn Saigon whore bit my nose off, and he's just really he's at a level 10 the whole movie. That's one of my favorites.
Maximum Cokeage.
Poor guy.
It's a sad story. I wish he was still around, but yeah. Okay, here's a lighthearted question. Get away from that. Everyone's favorite original Netflix show, including the chat.
Ooh, I'm gonna take away the Marvel shows, so I don't have that that built-in fandom to Daredevil, because that's unfair. I'll give it to Glow.
Darth Vader.
Yeah, honestly, mine would have to be probably Daredevil. I don't watch a ton of Netflix, but I do watch all the Marvel shows, and to me, it's far and away the best of those. But so I'd have to go with Daredevil.
Ghetto Bible.
Geez, there's just so many. I think the best show on Netflix right now is Jessica Jones season 2.
Is that a joke?
Should we laugh? Yeah,
I'm
scared.
I'm just messing around.
I'm like, what do we do?
I'm like, do I say something, or do I just? No. Okay. Well, for me, I've seen a little. I've only seen a few episodes of all the Marvel shows because I just got Netflix recently. I was late to the party. It looks good. I'm sure they're the top notch ones, but honestly, the one that I'm binge watching the most on the weekends, at least, and that means drinking to the most on the weekends, is probably The Ranch. I love that damn show.
That is good. It's funny.
Ashton Kutcher redeems himself to me. It's a great show. Sam Elliott's awesome. Half it's mustache, but they're half it because he's awesome.
Aaron Cook sent in a super chat and says, "Look what I can do, Daddy!" Sploosh. And then our good friend Sills Will also sent one that says, "Yo, Jeff, the dong lover. When's Army of Darkness? I want to get groovy. Say hello to Mr. Fancy Pants and pull out my boomstick." Phrasing was intentional. Well, Sills, we're going to do one of these days soon. Dion and I are going to do an all-day Terminator live hangout like this. And then if that works out well, we'll do an all-day Army of Darkness trilogy hangout. So we'll be keeping in contact with you guys who have requested to be on those commentaries, and we'll have you be a part of them. And then six turning 4 birding says the stripper on SNL next to Patrick Swayze.
Oh, the Chippendales. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Hey, he should have got a yes vote. He had energy.
A couple of months back when this was like last year now, when we were doing the 80s songs at the end of the podcast, when I played Everybody's Working for the Weekend, I tried to find the clip from that SNL skit. When the music was going to end, I was going to have Kevin Nealon say how unattractive and ugly Chris Farley is and all that shit, but I couldn't find it, so I had to cut the joke out. But man, I really wanted to incorporate that.
Well, Darth Vader, Ghetto Bible, excuse me. Jeff, I gotta be heading out here. This was, as we all know, unplanned to a degree, but the best things are, like you said, Jeff. So, to quote James Bond on my way out, if you were to ask, was I looking for seashells? No, I was just looking.
Oh, dude, I can't wait till you have watched a couple more of those, and then we can have a discussion.
Yeah. Just like those guys in the car. They're not going to be discussing anything with anybody. They're on their way to a funeral.
Commander Cody, I don't know if Okay, real quick before you go. So how did you guys... Okay, I sent the invite to Ghetto Bible, but then you guys got a notification that says I sent it to you, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Commander Cody, I don't even know how I invited other people. I thought this was originally going to be a one-on-one hangout with Ghetto Bible, but I made a mistake. So the other guys joined, and now it's a party. So I don't know how it happened.
It's a party.
Actually, I was about to say that I have to run as well. I've got a bit of a situation actually, so I'm about to have to run as well. So you will get to hang out with Ghetto Bible. It looks like.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for coming to hang out with us. Trent, make sure to keep me up to date on your James Bond experiences. Wait till you see all From Russia with Love. It gets really crazy. It's one of my favorites. So,
when does the shark show up and eat Robert Shaw?
1975.
76? Or is it 75? Is it 75? Is it 76?
75's Jaws.
Huh.
Because 77 is Star Wars.
I think it was 76. Well, shit. Hey, the shark should have got him in Istanbul, but whatever. We'll wait. We'll be patient.
Activate Cecil Light. People are telling me to invite Cecil and all these other people.
If Cecil jumps in, that crazy bastard. Okay, I can wait on Russia with Love. I mean, oh man, fucking Cecil.
I mean, you should wait. You want me to? Should I try to see if Cecil wants to come hang out with you guys?
If you want, I mean, hell, I mean that guy. I like how I went back and listened to the one of the High Councils. I think one of the first ones. You, EVS, and Nurkish. And when he jumps on, I literally thought he was a soundboard. When he was doing that joke with Ethan, I thought, holy shit, this is Ethan doing it. I didn't think it was a real human being. I thought this had to be fake. I couldn't believe it.
I'm still convinced Cecil's not a real human being.
Well, he could be maybe he's one of those aliens from Men in Black that was just hanging out.
Like Jeeves?
Yes, he's Jeeves.
Yeah, shoot him in the head. See what happens.
You have any idea how much that stings? Man, I love me some Men in Black movies.
Well, I appreciate you, Jeff. I really do, even though it was a happy accident. But
well, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us and helping out the channel. And when you want to, come back on for a group hangout or stuff like that, just let me know.
Oh, awesome! I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, catch you next time, dude.
Take care.
Take care.
By the way, speaking of Cecil, Commander Cody, I think you figured out who Cecil was for real.
Richard Simmons?
It's a Richard. It ain't Richard Simmons. Yeah, I think he figured it out for real because that guy disappeared from the Facebook group real quick. Oh, Cecil's out on a beach. Man, Cecil lives large.
Cecil is large.
Was he some kind of secret billionaire or something?
I think so.
I will say this: he could be one of the missing alien twins from MIB. Forget and Bob.
Last time we were at Phil's, we were watching that, and we just laughed and laughed, and then we got drunk and forgot about it. So, Ghetto Bible. Tell me something
Jeff,
good.
I'm going to head out then. All right? You guys have a good talk. And, Jeff, I'll be in touch about the show and also the commentary because American Psycho will be watched and it will be hip to be
Tip
square.
Square. I do like Huey Lewis in the News, even though their early work was a little too new wave for my taste.
Huey's been compared to Elvis Costello, but I believe Huey has a far more cynical, darker sense of humor. Yes, Alan? A little chow or something? No, Alan. This is a raincoat?
Yes, it is. Somebody asked me what movie references I use in my everyday life. Anytime someone asks me a question that I can answer with "Yes, it is," I usually go "Yes, it is," but no one gets the inflection.
Oh my God! Also, then '87, Huey released this 4, the most accomplished album by far. Our undisputed masterpieces, "Hip to Be Square," a song so catchy that most people probably don't listen to the lyrics, but they should. It's not just about conformity and the pleasure of trends. It's also a personal statement about the band itself. Hey, Paul! Ah! I totally memorized. Is that bad? I had the whole damn thing memorized.
I'm a little jealous that I haven't caught it or gotten that much memorized of it, but hey, whatever. I'll get it eventually.
He'll get a res. All right, well, I'm heading out. Jeff, it was a surprising pleasure. Ghetto Bible, nice to meet you. Definitely stop by the watch party for American Psycho when it comes around.
Hey, thank you. Likewise, nice meeting you too.
Yep. Okay. Take care, guys. Have fun.
So yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
And then there were 2.
Yeah. Hey, I was thinking, since you're going to the horror thing, what's your favorite horror movie? I don't think I've ever heard you say.
Oh, okay. Mine is Halloween, the original one, not the remake or any of the sequels. Just straight up the first Halloween movie. It's one that stuck with me from the first time I saw it, and then I liked Michael Myers and the mask and the music and all that stuff. So I definitely have normally horror stuff isn't in like a top list of any of my favorite movies, but for some reason Halloween is. So it kind of transcended that. I just love that movie as a whole.
Yeah, I like the whole theme and whatnot too. I thought the musical tone and the suspense was part of the greatest theme for me for it, because it wasn't just some simple slash hack film. I mean, there was suspense to it. You had I thought it was a pretty decent story, and I thought the pace of the movie was actually pretty good. That goes along with the whole thing, because the killer himself, he moves slow, but at the same time it feels like everything's going so fast.
Yeah, it's such a well-paced movie overall. Like, John Carpenter really is a master of suspense and just storytelling visually as well as through his music and stuff like that. No other horror movie I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but no other horror flick feels as classy as Halloween. When I watch Halloween, I don't feel like I'm watching a piece of shit like a Friday the 13th movie. Like, those are sleazy and dirty and whatever, but that's the appeal of them. But when I watch Halloween, I feel like I'm getting a better experience.
Yeah, I do too. I think that it's a great movie. I mean, like you said, like Friday the 13th. I think those are like fast food sort of horror movies. Something you pop in, you see a pair of tits, laugh at some of the scenes and whatnot. But I don't consider those movies to be, exceptionally great. I mean, they're good time killers, but I don't think that they're anything special.
I'm with you 100% on that. For me, the Jason character, like, okay, I go to these horror conventions and I interact with a lot of people, and these people try to overinflate the importance of Jason Voorhees. At the end of the day, he's just a zombie that murders people, and he murders really stupid people too. The characters that get killed off in the Friday the 13th movies don't have any substance or backstory. At least in Halloween, the 3 main girls and Bob, who are murdered in the present day of that film, you at least know something about them. Yeah, the Friday the 13th people, they're just like, I'm here to get high, and then they die.
Yeah, I think Jason mostly does a service to evolution itself by killing stupid people.
There are a couple kills in those movies that are really cool and inventive, and then a lot of them are just stupid. I think the aura around those movies, like the mystique, what people talk about when you actually sit down to watch them, they're pretty lackluster in many ways, including the kills.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's just sort of it's like the well, my friends, when they always talked about Jason movies, it was always just like, who has the nicest pair of tits they're going to see on TV or something like that. And that's basically all it feels like. It's like, you just get your thrill by watching him kill a few stupid people. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but other than that, there's no substance to anything that goes on.
No, and there's also contradiction between each film. Say what you want about the Halloween sequels, at least they flow together better than any of the damn Friday the 13th sequels.
Yeah, I agree with you. As a kid, when I was like in the 5th or 6th grade, I actually drew a comic about Jason. I never seen the movie or anything like that, and it got taken away from me at school, obviously. But I drew this whole comic because I wanted to be this comic book artist, and I called it Nightmare on Sesame Street. Of course, I didn't realize that there's a difference between Freddy Krueger and Jason, but I drew the whole thing. The cover had Jason on top of this building, and you had the Sesame Street characters looking out the windows all scared and whatnot. And I only got to page 4 of it. It was pretty funny. I relied on someone whose family would let them see these rated R flicks, so I would just draw what I could. And, I had him kill Big Bird and Gordon. I don't know, there's a black guy named Gordon or something at that time. And I detailed it out. And then what got me in trouble was I drew a scene where Bert and Ernie are together, and I drew them as a gay couple. And then Jason kills Ernie, and Bert and him get into this big fight. But, I drew this whole crazy scene with Bert and Ernie and whatnot. And my teacher seen it and was like, yeah, no, this isn't going to fly.
I have never when I would draw, I would always just draw Spider-Man religiously, like to a point where I was like, "You're drawing Spider-Man again, huh?" And people were just like used to it. I think I've drawn a lot of horror artwork like post college because I would go to these conventions and sell, artwork prints of Halloween or Friday the 13th and stuff like that. That's how I learned a lot about these movies. Outside of just watching them, I'd have to watch them for what was essentially work. So I tried to understand them on a different level, like on a deeper level. But when I got to the Friday the 13th movies, I just realized there was no deeper level. It's just schlock.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of my favorite horror movies would have to be The Thing. I think that is one of John Carpenter's top films, the suspense and everything to it. And I think it's also pretty psychological because when I watched it, I mean, that movie scared the shit out of me as a kid, but I never could figure out, who was the thing, who was there. And I always wondered, like, when the monster absorbs the person, do they get that person's memories,
I don't know. Because here's one thing. I always thought of The Thing as like a sci-fi flick. Because as soon as I said Halloween, people were like, what about The Thing? What about The Thing? Just for the people in the chat comment section, just to let you guys know, that's why I never jumped to The Thing. I think The Thing's a fantastic movie. I don't know if it gets their memories because doesn't it like... I guess it has maybe its short-term memories. I've only seen the movie maybe 10 times over the course of 20 years. So I don't necessarily remember like lines of dialogue and stuff like that. I don't know if it has the memories. I'm assuming it maybe.
Yeah, I always wondered that because it has to blend in and whatnot. And I like the whole thing of it because in most, sci-fi monster horror movies, whatever you have, the monster or whoever is the big bad is always a super scary thing and whatnot, and everybody is, running away from it. And in The Thing, it is like that, but at the same time, The Thing is blending in because it also has an enemy in man because it can be killed by man. So, it doesn't seem outwardly invincible. And I like the whole thing because it's sort of like a cat and mouse game between the monster and the people trying to stop or escape the monster.
The thing that makes The Thing stand out to me, besides the tension, I know this sounds superficial, but man, the effects and the gore are so like ahead of their time, and they stand out even today. Like there's nothing like that, even to this day. Like no matter how much CGI you throw at a movie and how much money you throw at it, those practical effects with those actors reacting to those things on the set were just, God, they're so bizarre and gross.
Oh yeah, I think my favorite one is Well, actually, two. I'd say the one where the head comes off and turns into like that spider thing.
Ugh,
And the
that's
guy's
so gross.
yeah, and the guy's like, "You got to be fucking kidding me!" He's like, "What the hell is this thing?" You know, and the reactions, it's like the reactions are so good because it looks like they're actually completely scared. And I think the other one was with when they open up the cage and the guy just freezes there to burn the dog, but you know he sees this horrific monster and he just freezes up because what he sees is just so inhuman, you know.
John Carpenter maybe doesn't have the biggest named actors in his movies, but he definitely gets incredible performances out of them to a point where I think he's so good at directing actors that he can elevate like anybody's performance and make those movies seem bigger than they truly were.
I think it comes down to a lot of chemistry. The actors had excellent chemistry. You had between all of them, all the characters and whatnot. There wasn't a character in the movie that I thought to myself, even the smallest roles where I thought, you know, well, this character sucks. I can't wait for them to die or whatever. All of them to me were interesting and whatnot. And I thought the movie had a great way of going about itself where you wanted to know more. Like, did the monster crash here is the monster a part of like some sort of invasion force? Was the ship a prison ship? Did he escape? You know, why did the ship crash? Because you see in the beginning, it doesn't land, it crashes. So you have to wonder, how exactly did it get here and why is it here?
Well, I think stuff like that is what makes the movie even better because to jump back to Star Wars for just a quick moment. With J.J. Abrams and his mystery box bullshit, he gives you so much, and then the stuff kind of ends without it like having like a conclusion. With Carpenter's thing, it like something starts and there's a mystery of how it got there, but it doesn't change the actual story. I think that the way Carpenter does it adds to the story. The way somebody like J.J. Abrams does it leaves a hole in the story.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, and I thought that the alien creature itself being mysterious, because I always wondered when I seen the movie, I was like, oh, you know, like, does it have memories? Does it have its own actual intelligence? And I always wondered, like, could you converse with it before it ate you? You know, I always wondered that.
I am glad they don't show that though, because I think besides the gore, besides the chemistry, well, if you have to add the gore and the chemistry together, and then you add in the suspense. There's just so many elements that movie works on, and it's, you know, in not one location in a room, but it's in that base. And where are they at? The Antarctic. It's just such an isolated location. The whole "what if the thing gets out" type of thing. It could destroy. Like, there's always implications and what ifs, and so many different places you could go. But the self-contained story of the movie is stronger or as strong as those possibilities. Therefore, you don't ever feel like you're missing out, like what could be next type of thing. You ever watch like The Purge? When you watch the first Purge, they talk about all this crazy shit happening. Yeah, you're stuck in this house with these people. At least with a movie like The Thing, you may be focused on the guys at the base, but you know, there's all those possibilities too. Like, where did it come from? Where could it go? All this shit. What if it gets out? Type of thing. So, I don't know. I just can't give that movie high enough praise. I have two stories about The Thing. I don't know if I've ever told them on air, or maybe I have, but I don't know if you've heard them. So, we talk about working at horror conventions, I went to one and I was hanging out with the the black guy, the cook, not Keith David, but the other one.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He was next to me at the bar, and I guess people were shitty to him that day, but he talked to me at the bar for like an hour or two. He's telling me all these really fucked up jokes the whole night, and it was me, it was him, and Gary Busey and somebody else, Jake Busey, and my cousin, and we were just like yucking it up the whole night. But earlier that day, the guy who was in The Warriors, the one that you've seen The Warriors, right?
Yeah.
You know the one that got killed under the train that's also in The Thing?
Yeah, I did.
I don't know his name, but we were getting into the convention with our tickets, and he went to the Starbucks, and the lady wouldn't let him in. She's like, "You don't have a badge. I don't know who you are." Blah blah blah. And like all of us had to get together to explain to her who this dude was and why he needs to be let into the thing and all this crap. It was just bizarre. It was like a really weird weekend. But I had those two runs with those actors from that movie. The only one I didn't get to talk to was Keith David, because he had a line like you wouldn't believe. Like, people were lined up to meet that dude.
Oh yeah, I thought Keith David and Kurt Russell had insanely good chemistry. I mean, I loved their characters in that movie.
People are at, real quick. Rhino4563 says Carpenter's Prince of Darkness was pretty scary. I think I've seen that movie one time. If that's the one with Donald Pleasance as a priest, that's the only thing I can say is I've only seen it once. Have you seen it?
I have not. I mean, I should check it out, but no, I'm sorry, I have not seen that movie.
A couple other people are telling me about the end of the Thing video game answers that McCready survived. So I think John Carpenter had input with that game, or at least approved of the story. So I guess that answers the movie a little further, that, you know, McCready made it. And Ballet Dancer New Jersey, I like Christine. Folks, I'm actually thinking about doing some John Carpenter stuff in October, the closer we get to Schlocktoberfest. So if you guys like that idea, press F. So, Ghetto Bible, have you ever checked out some of our older horror stuff that we did way back when?
No, I haven't. I've been going through some of your videos, but for some reason with YouTube, it gives random orders and stuff like that. So I'll have to go through and start, you know, checking out everything. I've been a listener for about a couple months now, probably longer because I've been on the Patreon for a while. So I've been listening to you guys, but your really, really old stuff, no, I don't think I've ever listened to it, and I should go back and listen from episode 1.
I'll tell you this, the audio quality is way worse, so just be prepared for that. And then the flow's not there. With the other guys, it was all like a learning experience. I think we kind of came into our own around episode 60 or so. That's when we kind of started getting pretty good, in my opinion. And then we've kind of been on a decent roll. I mean, yes, some weeks are better than others. But the only reason I bring up the horror stuff is because back in October of 2016, I did 31 videos about horror movies. It kicked my ass. And only they got 300 views a piece. So it wasn't really successful. But since our audience has, since last year's Halloween stuff has basically grown by a factor of 10, I'm going to give it one more shot. So hopefully enough people are there to check it out, and we'll give you guys that horror stuff around October, because there's a new Halloween movie and there's all kinds of stuff coming out, and I kind of want to embrace the holiday one last time.
Oh, Halloween's my favorite holiday, and I love horror movies. I try to watch a lot of them. The only problem I find with a lot of horror movies is that most of them aren't really memorable. I mean, I wish they were. It's such a great genre, but I don't think anyone takes the time and the effort to really go into it. I think when it comes to sort of Korean horror, they put a little bit more effort into it. But when it comes to American-made horror, they kind of just phone it in and just make it into a slasher sort of thing.
Well, we can thank Friday the 13th for that. And one thing I'd like to say too, I don't ever try to attack the small guy, but when it comes to a lot of independent horror, and I'm talking really, really low budget shit, you don't get people that understand the basis of how to make a movie. You get people that are fans of the gore and the bad characters and this and that, and they try to replicate the elements of these horror movies they like, and they don't do it too well. And then they don't make a compelling story, and therefore there's a stink on independent horror to a degree. And I know horror movies are easy to make and cheap to make, but we need somebody new. There's Blumhouse, which is the high end of the low budget horror flicks. But I think you need another John Carpenter or a Sam Raimi or somebody to kind of come in with modern day technology that we have to make movies, and put that shit on blast and make something crazy and insane, and not try to just do crappy gore. Just do a good story.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's I think a lot of these people, they see movies like The Thing, Halloween and whatnot, and they go, oh, the core is great, the suspense and whatnot, but they don't really build a cohesive story around it. And I think that's a major problem when it comes to smaller horror films, because I've watched a couple and I've wow, this has a pretty good premise and whatnot, but the problem that happens with it is that they don't either they don't have good enough actors, or they have no chemistry, or they just didn't put no effort in the story and just go with effects or jump scares, stupid crap like that.
You'll see a lot of that at horror conventions, and I've pity bought certain people's movies, because you see these people, it's hard to make money at these shows. I was there trying to make money myself, and I felt bad, so I'd buy people's movies from them. But I would buy these and take them home, and I'm just thinking to myself, ugh. And I don't know. It's not that I think I'm, I could do better. I could definitely write a better story. I don't know much about, lighting and this and that and the other, but I just wish people would take the time and not try to pump out as much crap as possible and just take the effort, because you'll get the next John Carpenter's out there somewhere. They just need to either find it in themselves or somebody needs to find them. It's an exciting time though to make movies, because let's say you and I had an idea for a movie. We could come up with the resources and make a movie much easier than you could in 1978.
Oh yeah, I mean it's open now because you have Patreon, GoFundMe, and all this other stuff to make horror movies. And I think if you have a good idea and you present something in a well thought out, articulate manner, then people will back you. And I think it's a great time for this sort of stuff. And I really, really would like to see another John Carpenter come out and really make a splash in the horror scene. I mean, I've been disappointed with a lot of horror movies lately. I think the most disappointing movie I've seen lately is probably the prequel to The Thing, or the reboot, whatever you want to call it, because that movie was awful.
I saw it in theaters.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. It didn't make any sense. For one thing, it should have been in Norwegian. I don't know why it wasn't set, in that sort of manner. You had too many Americans. You had a bunch of random Americans, a random black guy, American scientist. I'm like, what the hell is this?
The only thing I will give it credit for is the ending was pretty cool. How that dog that got away was the dog from the first movie.
Yeah, I thought that was great. The thing that I didn't like about it was it didn't have too much suspense to it. It felt more like a just like a monster movie. And that disappointed me on it. I was really hoping for some sort of, completely almost in Norwegian, tense atmosphere, and then basically a Norwegian version of the original Thing.
I'd have liked that. I don't know how to describe or how to explain myself when I say this. I don't think that remake or the reboot or whatever the fuck the prequel to The Thing is necessarily a good movie, but it was entertaining enough that I wasn't pissed off. Like that year, was it 2011? My friend Joel and I went to a whole bunch of movies. We saw that and we saw Scream 4 relatively close. I believe they came out maybe a couple months or a couple weeks apart. And I remember thinking Scream 4 was garbage and The Thing was just okay.
Yeah, I was entertained and stuff by it, but I was just disappointed. I was expecting something like John Carpenter level, but, high expectations and whatnot. I wish they would have explored the shit more at least, or at least got some backstory on that, but they didn't. And so I was a little bit disappointed when it came to that. But, I mean, it's certainly not the worst horror film I've seen, but, it's when you have The Thing and then you have that movie, it's kind of like, it's not that great.
Are you looking forward to the next Halloween film that comes out in, a few months, 3 months and 4 days?
I am. I think it looks pretty good. I've purposely not looked too much into it because I would like to be pleasantly surprised. I don't want to get my expectations up too high. I think that's what happened when I seen the newer Thing movie. I really went back and, watched the movie and stuff like that, and I hyped myself up, and then I was completely disappointed. I don't think this Halloween movie will disappoint, but at the same time, it's like I want to be very careful when I go see it.
Well, for me, I'm taking your approach. I'm not going to read too much into it. I don't want to know every little detail. I like The Mask. I like that John Carpenter's doing the music. And one thing I will say about sequels to old movies, no matter the quality of the film, one thing I always enjoy is that these companies will pump out merchandise based on these franchises, and this is the only window of opportunity you have to get said merchandise. So, for example, Indiana Jones 4 sucked ass, but I bought every toy from the old movies because they made them. This year, they're making Michael Myers figures and dolls and accessories based off the old Shatner mask, which they haven't done in like a decade and a half. So, if you like Michael Myers or stuff like that, the only positive to ever come out of sequels to old-ass movies is that these companies will try to milk it dry for the merchandise. And if you're a fan, this is your one chance to get it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Speaking of music, I completely forgot about I think that's one of the best parts of The Thing and Halloween is the music. I think it just adds so much layers of suspense to the whole films.
Oh, you're 100% right. Plus, John Carpenter, his scores are incredible. I mean, the Halloween one's great. The Big Trouble in Little China one's a lot of fun. I really liked the Escape from New York music, and the Fog. The Fog has great music too.
Yeah, I think if you have good music to a movie, it really adds a lot to it. I mean, our music can make or break a film, even if the film is pretty decent. When I seen Suicide Squad, and it was just like, it just had all that over the top music, yet Eminem and all this other stuff. I'm like, geez, man, what is with this? I think they blew half the budget on the music score, let alone.
Still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, cut out for a second. Yeah, I don't really know what they were thinking when they just did that. Did they just think that, well, if we have all these name brand, musicians and music and stuff, people will come see the movie. I really don't know what they were thinking with that movie.
I remember thinking, okay, they're going to try to make a villain's version of the Avengers. Okay, cool concept. And then I remember seeing the cast, and I was like, okay. And then I saw the Joker image, and I was like, no, I'm done. Nothing about that movie worked for me. First off, I think it's tonally inconsistent. Secondly, I think it's broken in terms of pacing. And third, it just doesn't. The ending's garbage. Like, just flat out, the ending's fucking garbage.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think they focus too much on trying to make them into good guys or whatever, or anti-heroes. I think the animated Suicide Squad movies are actually really good. Those are enjoyable. I'm not a big fan of the movie. I really didn't like the CGI in it. The CGI looked bad. Enchantress was awful. I mean, I don't know what they were doing with her. I mean, I seen her, I was just like, what am I watching?
Yeah, I mean, her head didn't even look like it was attached to that body. It's like it was some other woman dancing around, and then Cara Delevingne's noggin was just, superimposed.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, I just don't know what they were doing with that movie. It could have been good. I think it would have been better if it had been, a rated R flick, and it focused more on just bad guys having to do a job, and then they turned out and it saved the world. I wouldn't mind that. My biggest surprise from it was Jai Courtney did not actually suck in that movie. I mean,
I'm just laughing, man. You're 100% right. He did not suck in that movie.
I mean, he seems like a cool guy and everything, but damn, his acting is pretty bad. But in that movie, I was like, wow, it's you have a bad movie when Jai Courtney is like your one of your top things about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other actors that I thought were decent. I mean, Will Smith was Will Smith, so I guess I don't hold him to a different standard because I know what I'm going to get, and I'm accepting of what I'm going to get. And that's fine. Kind of like when Will Ferrell plays in a film, you get Will Ferrell playing that Will Ferrell role. So the Will Smith nature of the character elevated the cast a little bit. And Jai Courtney wasn't terrible, but you had Rick Flag, who was just a wimp noodle. He was nothing in that movie. Then you had what's his face? The guy that played Killer Croc was nothing special. Then you had the girl, Katana, didn't really add much. And Harley Quinn, I mean, she was just marketing. That's all she was. She was in that movie for marketing. And Margot Robbie looks great, but she just, her performance was kind of shitty.
I couldn't buy her as Harley Quinn. I'm sorry. She looks good and everything, but I just couldn't buy into it. And yeah, she was just there for marketing. I heard her supposed to be doing this Gotham City Sirens and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, just wait till everyone sees that the whole Gotham City Sirens is nothing but a bunch of white people in there. And I could just see all the rage and hate for that.
Yeah, you can never make those people happy. And for me, the Gotham City Sirens movie, I'm just going to skip on it.
Yeah, it doesn't interest me at all. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing her with a proper Joker, Harley Quinn with a proper Joker, but I just don't think we're going to get that. Not with Jared Leto, anyways. I don't know. He's a pretty good actor, but I don't know what he was doing with this. It wouldn't have been so bad if they would have done it where Jared Leto wasn't the real Joker, but more like a successor or a fake one. Like in Batman Beyond, where you have the Jokers as a gang.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have done it that way, where he was like a Joker themed sort of bad guy, where he thought he was a Joker but he wasn't. He was just some crazy guy. I think I could have bought into that a little bit more.
Yeah, and the thing about Jared Leto's Joker performance was they got all the wrong things as the focal point of his character. Like, they wanted him to be bizarre and kind of dark like Heath Ledger, but then they wanted to go and amplify other elements of the character. And he just came off as he wasn't intimidating. The design didn't work. The tattoos, the metal teeth, all that shit. Whoever thought that, like, the early Zack Snyderverse, which is essentially where we are now at the DCEU, has just been one design mistake after another, one bad story mistake after another, and now they're feeling the failure. I mean, Aquaman comes out, next Christmas, or is it this year? And that's going to be forgotten. The Shazam movie is going to be forgotten. The Rock is never going to make Black Adam. That movie's just not going to happen. It's too little too late for these people.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed if Aquaman didn't do good. I mean, I thought Jason Momoa fits the part. I do like I do like the updated character thing of Aquaman. But I think they just did so much damage to the brand that, I don't think that many people are going to show up to see it, even though it looks like it could actually be a really good movie.
So it looks like Aquaman comes out in November, according to Rhino in the chat. I liked what they did with him in Justice League. I thought he was actually really great in that team dynamic. But how will he act on his own? In many ways, he's like their version of Thor. But for me, Thor works best when he's playing off other people. Like, I thought Thor was one of the best parts of the Avengers, the first one. I just liked that dynamic, that interplay. I don't know. I think a regal underwater tale might be boring.
I'm not sure how they're going to do it. But you're absolutely right about Thor. He's better when he plays off of people. I think that's why people like the whole dynamic of Thor and Loki. I think that their dynamic is excellent. I think the problem with Aquaman, I don't know if we're going to have that, but supposedly you're going to have Black Manta and an Ocean Master and stuff in there. And I'm hoping that it turns out to be really good. I think they might go more with an action route, which is Jason Momoa's sort of strong point, rather than more dialogue and whatnot. So if they do it with Jason Momoa, Aquaman being more of an action flick, and instead of too much into the whole royal regal scene, it might be a really good movie.
Well, I stand corrected. The film has a release date of December 21st. But listen to this cast, though, dude. This has got a really solid cast. So you got Jason Momoa as Aquaman, Amber Heard, Willem Dafoe, Nicole Kidman, Patrick Wilson, and Dolph Lundgren. Like, holy shit. To me, that's a pretty stacked cast. And then Tamara Morrison, that's kind of cool. He was Jango Fett. And then we got Randall Park. Did you see Ant-Man and the Wasp yet?
I have not seen it.
But Randall Park was one of the FBI agents in that film. And I didn't really care for Ant-Man and the Wasp that much, but I thought he was one of the better parts. So anything with Randall Park, I will watch now because he did a damn good job.
Yeah, see, that is a stock cast. And, with Dolph Lundgren there, that I think that it may be, like I said, a more of an action flick in it. And I think that'd be really good because you don't have Aquaman, who's like this, kind of, with Jason Momoa, he's this buff, manly man, and he's not facing some sort of wimpy guy. He's instead facing Dolph Lundgren, who I think will be actually a really good badass villain.
Like we always say on the channel, dude, your heroes are only as good as their villains. In terms of like movies like this, this isn't really an origin story, but it's essentially a one-off Aquaman flick. So you're not going to see another Aquaman movie unless this one makes, Black Panther money.
It'd be crazy if Aquaman and Wonder Woman are the only, decent done movies in the whole DC universe. It'd be crazy if Superman and Batman, two of the top heroes of all time, take a backseat to Aquaman and Wonder Woman. That just be crazy.
Stranger things have happened, dude. Look at Iron Man. Iron Man's the fucking A-list of A-list at Marvel 10 years ago before the movie. Well, the movie came out 10 years ago. But my point is, like, prior to 2008, Spider-Man and the X-Men and even the Fantastic Four were bigger, had more status than Iron Man. Times change. Shit can happen like that.
Yeah, it is crazy. I think Iron Man is, like the top hero out of Marvel right now. And it's nuts because he was, like a B, C-list character. And so it's just crazy that, from a good role, having a good actor and having that good movie, that now you have these characters that were, B, C-list characters are now top-tier characters. I mean, Captain America, he's great. I mean, Falcon, I like Falcon. And if you watch the animated or look at the comics of Falcon, he sucks.
Yeah. I used to read Captain America and the Falcon because there was an issue where they team up with Spider-Man, and then I picked up some not reprints, but some other issues just to check it out because I like Captain America. Captain America or Falcon in the movie is incredible. I don't know, like you said, you're going to go back and listen to some of our older stuff. You'll hear me talk about Civil War and Infinity War, and the things I was most excited for. Yeah, the action and Iron Man and this and that were great, but I was always wondering how Bucky and Falcon were going to play off of each other once they teamed with Captain America. Like, that was a big thing I was concerned with because of the strength of the actor, Anthony Mackie, as well as the guy who ever plays Bucky. Like, those guys have brought so much to the role, and they've made me like a character that I didn't like before. I think DC is struggling to find that. They're looking for everyone to be the next Iron Man, and they haven't even established their big two yet with Batman and Superman. So I hate to be that guy, but I pretty much think the DCEU just should either be soft rebooted or do the Flashpoint story where they go to another dimension and start fresh with new actors and everything.
Yeah, I agree with you. And yeah, it is crazy how Falcon, Bucky, and Captain America were great, and I would love to see a movie with those three characters, doing something, fighting someone or whatever. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get it, but their chemistry together was insanely good, and I would love to see a film with those three actors in it. And I think they could easily do a couple of movies with them, and they'll make good money.
Oh, yeah. I wish Chris Evans would want to come back for more Captain America because his smaller scale movies, not the smaller scale, but like the more grounded Captain America movies to me are more rewatchable than a lot of the big epic ones.
Oh yeah, I love the Winter Soldier. I mean, the fight scenes and the choreography is excellent. I mean, it's just a great film. And Black Widow in that film, in a lot of the Avengers movies, she just feels kind of like, okay, why is she here? But in Winter Soldier, I thought she played an excellent role in it, and I was like, man, this team up of Black Widow, Captain America was actually really good.
Yeah, and I like her, but I don't know if it was you that brought up Red Sparrow earlier, if it was Trent, but a Black Widow film is essentially going to be that. We've already learned what we need to learn about the Black Widow. She's not a lead character, and anyone that would say, well, what about Ant-Man? What about this? What about that? Black Widow is really just a spy, and what makes her interesting is how she interacts with the Avengers and stuff like that. I don't think a Black Widow origin story would be as captivating as people think.
I don't think so either. I wouldn't mind seeing a Black Widow-led movie if you had other characters in it, like a Black Widow movie that featured Bucky or Falcon or something like that. And it wasn't an origin story. Instead, it was like some sort of mission to get something or spot somebody or something like that. I think that would work, but Black Widow by herself, I don't think is an interesting enough character. Like when you mentioned Ant-Man, someone might say, well, Ant-Man, he just Ant-Man. It's like, well, he can shrink, he can grow. Paul Rudd is very charismatic, so seeing him in his own film is completely fine. But when you have Black Widow, all she is a spy, and in the end, it doesn't make any sense for her to be taking on, bads that are supers, you know?
No. In today's climate, they're going to try to make it about something that it's not. And I'm really open to like comic book movies and superheroes and shit. And you said you wanted to be an artist. I was doing it for years. So, I mean, I really care about this stuff, but they're burning me out with like, let's put it like this. The media is burning me out on this stuff, you know, as I guess they would call me a heavy consumer or a heavy user of this shit in the past. The people that make it haven't pissed me off, but it's the people that promote it and all this shit. And when those people try to make it about their agenda or their cause, it turns me off. And I think with a Black Widow film, that's what it's going to be. Like Black Panther, I loved the character in Civil War, and I liked the movie Black Panther just fine, but I couldn't stand the way it was marketed or the way these people like try to make it about something else. And I'm afraid Marvel's eventually going to give in too much and go full bore to the other end of the spectrum. And it's just going to be a shit show, and Marvel will be dead.
I completely agree. I think that's the same thing with Black Panther. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a fine movie. My issue was with it is, like you said, the marketing of it, and then you had people, you know, just going off and crazy with it. They took it to this level that it didn't need to be at. I don't think they watched the movie itself, because a lot of the people I've seen online using, you know, Wakanda Forever and stuff like that, they sound more like Killmonger than they do, you know, Black Panther when it comes to this sort of stuff. And I'm just like, did they not learn anything from the movie that they just watched that they say they claim they love so much? I mean, they're so blinded by their own agenda that they completely miss the message of the movie itself.
I agree with that 100%. I also think they're so narcissistic because they want a lot of it, like Killmonger's. I think is I don't like Michael B. Jordan, or I didn't like him until I saw this movie, mainly because one, he died in it, but two, it goes to show you that like the ideas that he represented in many ways in terms of the movie were shown to be wrong or misguided. And I feel like like you said, a lot of those people see the Killmonger stuff, and in a way, it's kind of telling those people to like, you know, that's according to the movie, the morals are wrong. And I liked that part. I actually liked T'Challa quite a bit. I liked how he wasn't as noble or as royal as I would have liked. Then again, he was new to the role. But overall, him in the film, I thought he was fine. And I'm glad the movie did what it did, but I'll never say that it was this savior picture that really changed entertainment for Black people or superhero films or anything, because the movie's over. It came out 5 months ago. People aren't talking about it like they were in that regard. Infinity War came out. It's been over and done with too. Like these movies, they make a bunch of money. They have their shelf life, and that's it. We don't get to live in an era where stuff has the long, like Star Wars. Back in the day, it was in theaters for X amount of months or whatever, and people went and saw it 20 times. You couldn't even do that nowadays. It's different, but Black Panther, I don't know. Sorry, the super chat popped up and threw me off. From Avitas, can we get a Howard the Duck movie, please? We got one. It wasn't very good. And Logan Michael, thank you for super chat. Just joined. Well, Logan Michael, welcome to the party, pal.
A Howard the Duck movie. Yeah, we got one of those. I don't know if you could do a Howard the Duck movie now. I mean, you could if it was sort of like an action comedy. The original Howard the Duck movie, it's weird, but I mean, you can make it work if you have a good director and you have, you know, a good story and whatnot to it. But it just seems it's not $1 billion project, so I don't see it ever coming off the ground.
I have a question for you. Have you ever seen a DC animated movie called DC Showcase?
I have not.
I believe it's called DC Showcase. What it is essentially like 3 or 4 stories. If you had to do a Howard the Duck, why Marvel should branch out and try doing like an anthology flick where it has like 4 or 5 smaller stories about smaller characters. And I think that'd be kind of fresh and unique. So you could throw in your Howard the Duck movie and this and that. And you could just introduce some smaller characters and get them all in at one time, instead of sitting through a 2-hour Howard the Duck flick and all this crap. I mean, maybe it's not the most popular idea, anthology flicks, but overall, I would love that.
Yeah, they can introduce the character to more people. It could be interesting that way. I mean, I completely agree with that. I don't think that Howard the Duck film would, necessarily make a lot of money. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a great way to go about showcasing these, lesser characters and whatnot.
Well, I think it would be nice and refreshing because that way, like, I don't know if we were talking about horror movies earlier, but I love Creepshow. It's one of my all-time favorite flicks in terms of horror. And I just like the pacing of that. You have your bumper story, and then you have your little stories like that. I mean, maybe you do Adam Warlock like that. Well, they'll probably introduce Adam Warlock in Guardians 3. That's fine. But I'm trying to think of some other lesser characters. And the thing is, too, you could also do one-off stories with some of, like, let's say you had 2 or 3, let's say there's 5 stories in this movie. 2 of those could be the further adventures of a character we already love that we aren't going to see a movie. So it could be another Cap, Bucky, and Falcon story, or something smaller or shorter, or like another small one-off Ant-Man flick, or you could have the Black Widow story in that instead, or you could even do like an offshoot character, like a Wong, anthology storyline, like stuff like that. Just different to be the sake of different. Like when I watched Ant-Man, the one thing that bothered me is how samey it felt. And I liked the movie just fine, but by myself in that theater without a big group of people to laugh with, it just wasn't the same experience. Did I lose you?
Oh, sorry about that. I had my mic muted.
Oh, that's fine. It's no problem, man.
I agree with you 100% on what you said.
I just wish I had the power to do something with Marvel. It'd be the most fun job in the world, I think. Like, I love doing this. Don't get me wrong. I would do this and do the Marvel stuff. I think it'd be crazy. You could be like, hey, guys, this is what we're going to do. And, get the people online excited and we could talk about it and, see where it goes. I would love to do smaller Spider-Man stories too, but that's just me. I am not looking forward to this fucking Spider-Man Far From Home film. I think it looks... I think the concept sounds stupid.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how long they're going to drag out this Spider-Man being in high school. I mean, jeez. Are they going to do a movie when he learns to drive and all this other stuff? I mean, come on.
I just want a Spider-Man that faces, like... I just don't want him to be, like, the Peter Parker to be coddled by Aunt May in a support system. I want there to be, how do I say this? I want Peter Parker to have uncertainty in his life. He goes to school. He has, it's a place to live. He has food to eat, this, that, and the other. They may not be a rich family, but he's taken care of. I did like it when Peter had to struggle to make ends meet and stuff like that. And he basically uses Spider-Man as an escape from his shitty life type of thing. Like in Spider-Man 2, he had 1,000,001 problems. But when he was Spider-Man, the city loved him. Yeah, he had to do other things and face adversity as Spider-Man, but Peter Parker went up against just as much. I don't like this new modern take on Spider-Man because it lacks the great power, great responsibility mantra. And you don't have to say the actual line, but the character face... That's my biggest problem with Ray and all these other modern characters do this, like, for young people. And I mean, I'm 29, so I'm not like an old guy saying this. What pisses me off, though, is they don't give characters anything to, like, work for. They're just given everything. And I think that's the wrong message to send to, like, impressionable kids or anything like that. If there has to be a message in your movie, like in the real world, in life, you're going to have to work to get what you want. So to live in this fantasy world where, it just happens for you, like in these movies, is garbage. Spider-Man from back in the day worked for a shit. He made his own suit. He struggled. He got beaten up. He had to take care of himself. He had all these things. His life was garbage. I mean, part of the audience, part of the allure of Spider-Man is to watch him get dumped on and to see how he comes back from adversity. And there are times where you and I or anyone listening has been dumped on in life, and you got to work your way through the shit and pick yourself back up. In Homecoming, they had the wall fall on him, and that's about it. But overall, he had a pretty breezy first movie in the MCU.
Yeah, I think that's the mistake to do with Spider-Man. I thought Spider-Man was so popular because he was a perfect representation of your everyday person. Peter Parker wasn't perfect. He had crap happen. He didn't always succeed at what he did, and but when he became Spider-Man, it was like an escape from that sort of thing. But he still had struggles as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. The struggle never ended. It didn't matter if he was the man or the hero. He always had something to deal with. When you have characters like Ray and stuff like that, there is no struggle. There's nothing to work for. And I think that's what makes Peter Parker, Spider-Man, so amazing to everyday people, because he wasn't rich. He had his struggles. He had his powers, and he could have easily abused them, but instead he didn't, even though he could have. And I think that's what makes the character great, and I think that's why so many people admire and like Spider-Man, because he was just a great representation of what everyone else was going through, but what they wanted to be.
Exactly. I'm reading some of the comments, and they're talking about how the human struggle has been eliminated for cultural Marxism. That's the idea. Yeah, there are so many things wrong with Spider-Man: Homecoming, and for as strong as the foundation of the MCU has been with Iron Man and the Captain, like every other character has had a really strong foundation. Spider-Man, Marvel's flagship character, the Mickey Mouse of that brand before Disney purchased it, has had the worst start of any of the mainline superheroes. Like, I can't tell you how much wrong they did, even if it's just like, so we had this discussion with me, like, well, how can it be wrong? Well, there are certain hallmarks of the character you can't take away before it's not Spider-Man. It's just some other character. Like Aunt May, like his secret identity should be paramount to the story. He keeps the secret identity to protect the people around him that he loves. With Aunt May knowing he's Spider-Man and all these other things, it takes away so many elements to the character that he needs those things. I can't tell you how awesome the scene the first time I saw it in theaters when Mary Jane realized he's Spider-Man when he's holding up the wall and shit. Like, that was cool. I remember, like, God, that was 14 years ago, but I distinctly remember that moment, like, oh yeah, great, and shit like that. There were just, I don't know, you're never going to get that anymore. You're not going to get these big emotional moments with these Spider-Man movies. You're going to get, oh, there was this great action scene, or it was so funny, because people have no attention spans anymore. They're just focused on the social media crowd that don't even go to see your movies. If you gave us this big epic Spider-Man 3-act story that was funny and fun and action-packed and all the things these kids, in quotations, want to see, but something that has some meat on it that'll hold value over all these years, well, you're just not going to get that anymore. You had it before. You had it with Spider-Man 1 and 2. You had something that appealed to everybody. You had the meat, you had the drama, you had all that. Nowadays, you got, it's like a fast food equivalent. Before, Spider-Man movies used to be a steak. Now it's just a double cheeseburger from McDonald's.
Yeah, it's really becoming a problem, and it ruins the longevity of these movies. Like, when you see the action scenes, a couple of times, it starts to lose its effect on you, and that's why it's very important for these movies to have some meat and good story to them. So that way, when you go back and watch it, the action scenes should enhance the movie, not be the movie when it comes to Spider-Man. And I think that's what they forgot. I really did enjoy Vulture. I thought his mannerisms were very, very, very good. Like he's a salvager. He's a vulture. He's a salvager. He's looking out for his whole thing. If you look at the mannerisms of the vulture, the way it's played out, he is very much vulture-like. I did enjoy him in the movie, but yeah, they did so many things wrong with the movie that the movie itself doesn't have too much of a rewatching value to it.
No, and you brought up Michael Keaton. I think Michael Keaton's the strongest element of that film. Michael Keaton's a fantastic actor. I don't really have any complaints with him. And I don't even think Tom Holland was bad as Spider-Man. My complaints, they basically took all those elements of, like, the man of Spider-Man, and I'm not even going to make a joke about him being a boy, but just the self-reliance and all that stuff is out the window. It's literally everything's handed to him. And that just doesn't make for an interesting flick. Like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, he built that suit in a cave and he faced adversity. He was captured by those terrorists in the Middle East. He was captured and all that shit, and he had to escape and do all that crap. He used his brain, he used everything to get out of that cave. Spider-Man faced there was one scene where he lifted something heavy. I get it. That is meant to represent, was it Spider-Man 35? Cool, awesome, great, loved it. I saw the visual. It's not wasted on me. But just overall, there wasn't enough to get emotionally invested in.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's what made Iron Man, the first movie, so good, is because he had faced the adversity and he grew as a character. When he made the suit and whatnot, it wasn't perfect or anything like that. I think the Iron Man, the first one, really was what they should go for when you have movies like this. When you have Spider-Man and stuff like that, they should face adversity and they should grow as characters within the movie to make you like them. I mean, when you see that Iron Man movie, you want to see Iron Man succeed after he escapes. You see what he learned from that when the guy he was captured with died, and the sacrifice, how Tony Stark was an asshole, but then he starts to grow into a hero. He doesn't give up his personality per se, but he took that man's sacrifice and he made himself something more.
Yeah, Yinsen. I actually kind of care when that character died, and I even liked when they brought him back in Iron Man 3. It's weird that the MCU started out so right, and now it's devolved. Maybe it's something to say about how entertainment is being produced now, because Star Wars is a shell of itself. The MCU is starting to crumble before our eyes, which pisses me off because I want these movies to come out all the time and be awesome. And now, after Ant-Man and the Wasp, I was like, oh, I kind of am looking forward to the better part of a year's break. Like, what's Captain Marvel's next March? I'm fine with waiting till next March for another MCU flick. When I saw Thor Ragnarok and all the shit, the build up to Infinity War Part 1, or whatever, Infinity War, man, I couldn't wait. I was so satisfied with Infinity War that if that was the end of the MCU and they decided to end it on some bullshit like that, I'm okay. I thought that was such a strong ending. I don't need a resolution with some crazy time travel just so Captain America can fucking die and all the other characters that no one cares about take the lead. It end on a high note. I don't think they have that ability anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they have that ability anymore. And I honestly don't think that movies like Iron Man, the first one, was what they really wanted to do in the first place. It wasn't that Paramount anyways that did that. I don't think.
Yeah. Remember, Disney didn't buy Marvel until 2009, and technically the first Avengers is a Paramount picture.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. Jon Favreau did Iron Man, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I don't think that Disney likes that sort of vision. I think that they've been slowly trying to get away from that because they want to do the cheap, popcorn movies with no substance and stuff like that. I think that's what they want to do. I don't think they want to have to go through and character build and have character growth and whatnot. I think that they'd just be happy pumping out a couple Marvel movies a year where you have some action and whatnot and some silly humor. And even though they have no shelf life to them, they don't care because they already made their money.
Yeah. I just don't know why you wouldn't use this platform. You already have a built-in audience with the MCU. Why not use that to expand and make yourself even better? I'm not saying you need to use the platform to put in weird ideologies and politics that are going to turn off your audience. But like John Carpenter with They Live, that's a thinking man's movie. There are some elements to that movie and consumerism and conformity and all that stuff. It's wrapped inside of a pretty fun sci-fi action flick. Spider-Man could really have deep thoughts about responsibility and power and this and that. Instead, we just get a stupid romp with some stupid kids and Lego sets and all this other fucking... I just don't want to... Let me get to the super chat from Ethan Long. Hey, guys, what should Black Panther 2 be about, and which hero or heroes should accompany T'Challa in this film, assuming he returns, that is? What do you think, Edo Bible, about Black Panther 2?
Oh, geez. I think a good character that works with them would be Bucky. I think they make a good team. As for the whole movie, oh, geez, I'm not even really sure what they should go with because I just don't know, because I think they're going to try and instead of making it like it was when it was a pretty good movie, I think that they're going to, because it was so popular, I think they're going to try to go overboard with it, and they're not going to have a real grounded story, and I'm kind of worried that they're going to completely ruin Black Panther's character. I don't know, but I'm just a cynic, so.
Well, I saw a couple people say they want to see him interact with Namor. I think Universal still owns Namor, but the Hulk is still technically Universal, I believe, so they can kind of use him as they want. I don't know, but if I want to see the Black Panther who do I want to see him interact with? Well, they can't really do that. There's a Black Panther story where Captain America knew T'Challa's father, T'Chaka. That would have been cool had they referenced that a little more. But in the new one, I want to see Black Panther outside of Wakanda, because I know Wakanda's this wet idealistic dream of what Africa should be or whatever, but we've seen it on film and it was cool, but we're through with it. It's not going to be as breathtaking the second time. So this Wakanda Forever crap, cool. If you enjoyed it, watch the first movie. That's awesome. But much like Star Wars got away from Tatooine and regrettably went back in Return of the Jedi, you need to take Black Panther to another location. I thought the strongest parts of that movie were when he was in Korea, or when they showed Killmonger in London. Like, put Black Panther in America, or have him just doing some really cool, more like that spy shit he was doing earlier. I thought that was a really cool, unique part of the movie. The movie to me fell off after Black Panther, quote unquote, died, was defeated by Killmonger, and he lost his crown. That's when the movie kind of falls apart for me. But in terms of a part 2 and villains, I mean, I'm trying to think what the MCU actually has access to. Because, yeah, there are some characters I'd like to see, but Black Panther's not going to fight alongside a Wolverine or something like that. Because Wolverine could have known about Wakanda or some crazy shit like that. And that'd be a cool way to tie that in. But I don't know, who does he have the best chemistry with? I don't think he has tons and tons of chemistry with a lot of those people.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of just like, I don't know. I like I said, Bucky would work. I wouldn't mind seeing if you had the 3 characters, Bucky, Falcon, and Captain America, and then you added Black Panther to it, into this sort of bigger movie, and it was set in America or something like that, something with Hydra or something. That would be interesting.
I'd love that. I almost like when the heroes don't face super villains. It's not as interesting to me when the Avengers fought Ultron as when Captain America alone fought Crossbones, and, well, he fought him technically in Civil War, but when they fought like the people from part 2, Bucky and them, and Alexander Pierce and all that stuff, I just thought that was way cooler to see your heroes that can fight intergalactic threats struggle with normal people, because that makes those normal people, to me, sound more, or seem more intimidating.
Yeah, I completely agree. If you had those 4 characters in a movie, I'd like to see them go up against some grounded bad guys. I wouldn't mind seeing a guy in a super suit or something like that. I can't think of any villains off the top of my head. I wouldn't even mind a new villain. I would just like to see something like that, where like the Winter Soldier, where they're fighting a bunch of regular guys, but those regular guys are actually threats to them. And I think that would really build up on it. I think that if you had Black Panther with those 3 characters, I think it would sort of solidify the chemistry there, and I think it would be a good thing to see. But I don't know. I really just think that they're going to try and capture the magic from Black Panther movie, and it's lightning in a bottle, and I just don't see how they're going to try and mimic it. And I think when they try to mimic it, it's going to absolutely fail, and then shit might hit the fan.
I wish that the MCU, I know this sounds weird and counterproductive, but I wish they would bring back some of the earlier characters that weren't killed off necessarily, but like, okay, somebody brought up just like Hammer. I wouldn't mind seeing Justin Hammer back in the fold, but played differently, because he went to jail. He comes out a changed man. I mean, Iron Man 4 could be a really good movie if they don't go the shitty route like they did with I'm trying to think what's a cheese fest. Like, I don't really think Thor Ragnarok has much rewatchability. It was cool the first time I saw it. Whatever score I gave it back in November of last year, I'll just stick with it. It was fine. But I did say I'd rather watch Justice League in terms of repeat viewings. I'm not saying we need to have here's a James Bond analogy for fans out there. Moonraker was the most outlandish James Bond. He literally goes to space. And in the next movie, they ground it with For Your Eyes Only. I'd like a For Your Eyes Only moment, but I don't need every MCU flick to be grounded. One thing I don't think a lot of people take into account is they already have the brand recognition. If you make a movie that's grounded and you put Iron Man in it, and it's better than Iron Man 3, and you sell toys and all that shit, you'll make just as much money. I don't want to see a joke fest with Iron Man next time. Pick the jokes where you need them and then make them work. I'm burnt out on the laughs, man.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I think now we're due for a more grounded Marvel movie, and I think that's what makes some of these Marvel movies great. I can go back and laugh at some of the stuff with these other movies, and then go watch a grounded movie like The Winter Soldier, and I think that's what's missing from the Marvel universe so far is we don't have. I don't think there's been a grounded movie that's come out lately, and I really think that they need more variety to keep it going because you can't just keep using the same formula over and over again. You kind of have to go back and forth with it and really get people to who like all kinds of different movies to watch everything to be like, hey, this movie was good because of the quips, the laughs, the action. This movie was good because it had a great story. It had excellent, action to it, and the character really popped. It looked good and whatnot. And I think, like I said earlier, I think they're trying to go to every single movie following the same formula of this, popcorn sort of fest.
Well, just when there are no stakes, I can't. I'm trying to think back to like when I saw like a Winter Soldier and the stakes were high and I was blown away for what was next. And then I guess what was next? Technically Guardians of the Galaxy. That was a fun, light movie, and it worked and it was great for what it was. And then you bring it back, the little more gravitas with Avengers. It'd be nice if there was a nice ebb and flow of funny to serious. But the last year or so, like 2016, 17, and 18, there was just too much humor. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I guess Ant-Man kind of opened up my eyes to all this. Like, my opinions haven't changed on the previous films. What I liked. And I'm not going to say, oh, Ant-Man made all these things worse. Because Ant-Man was fine, and I like Ant-Man to be humorous. But I think half of Ant-Man's movie was useless. You could have, when you do see it, you'll know that, like, the main story, the things that he has to achieve, should have been resolved in the first 30 to 40 minutes, and then another story should have taken place. I thought it was the most oddly paced movie.
I haven't seen the movie yet, but that kind of disappoints me because when I seen Ghost, I was like, wow, are we going to get... I thought it was going to be Ant-Man's Winter Soldier for this film. I thought that, we'd see the Wasp and we'd see him, and it would be a more grounded film. And I was actually excited. I was like, we'll get some of that Paul Rudd humor, the Ant-Man humor, but it will be in a more grounded, more character development sense. But, if that's not the case, that's disappointing.
Well, the thing is, Ant-Man's funny, and I love Paul Rudd. I think Paul Rudd's one of the most likable actors. I don't have any problems with him. I don't even have any problems with Ghost or the characters. I think everybody brings what they need to bring. The story, what is there is fine, but like, without spoiling it for you, they're trying to get back Janet Van Dyne from the quantum realm. They are almost there at the 40-minute mark. And then they stop, and then everything minute mark in the climax of the film is useless because to myself, I thought, because Hank Pym's like offers to save Ghost. I thought to myself, why wouldn't he do that there? And then they could just, further do something else with this story. Get us back to Infinity War, show us more of the world, get you excited for that shit. But no, they don't. So either way, like I said, Ant-Man, Paul Rudd himself is great. Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, they all do a good job. But there's just some characters that just seem stupid. And Michael Pena doesn't get enough to do in this one.
That's disappointing to hear. I was hoping for something more. But, like I said, I really think that that's what they're going for with these new movies. And also, some of the stuff Kevin Feige has said lately, I know someone brought it up. I'm not going to overreact to anything that they said, but said before Black Panther release, he said it was the best movie they ever made. I was like, okay, and then he's talking about how more female leadership roles and all this other stuff. And I think what it is with the new Marvel, I think it's sort of like a bait and switch. I think they're gonna bring us in with all these really good movies. They're gonna establish all these characters. They're gonna kill off all these Iron Man, Captain America stuff, let these other people take over. And I think that's what they're hoping to do is not really go with stories or character development. They're just going to try and go with name brand recognition and be like, oh, remember these older films? These were great, right? Well, watch these other ones. But then they're going to push an agenda. And that's what I'm worried about. It's like, I just want to be entertained. I don't want to be preached to.
Well, you know they're gonna just basically rename a new character Iron Man. It'll probably be fucking Riri Williams, and they'll just pull. They did it in the comics, and the comics are failing. Why would they do this shit in the movie? I don't know. Like, is there someone in power that demands this? Are they trying to win representation points among themselves in Hollywood? I just don't get why this is a thing, because we've seen that these types of movies don't make the money they want. When you make a picture that appeals to every demographic, like Infinity War, you make billions of dollars. When you make this weird ideologically driven garbage, you get Ghostbusters 2016. You get, and then when you make something and you follow it up with something that's not so idealistically driven, like Solo to The Last Jedi, it hurts. I find it hard to believe that people can deny The Last Jedi Backlash didn't hurt Solo. There are so many people that didn't go see Solo because they're pissed off about the last couple months of Star Wars. Wait till that hits Marvel. You know, kids can pick up on shit that they don't like. There are movies that kids aren't going to be receptive to. And I don't care if you want to make it about gender or race, but like, if little boys don't like girls, they're not going to go want to see Captain Marvel, no matter, like, you can't sell them on a brand and sell them Captain Marvel. They'll just like what they like. You know, little kids like Deadpool because they like the costume or whatever. They like all these other characters because they look cool and this and that. But, you know, Captain Marvel, they can't really sell little children on the modern gender politics of today. They'll just see something. If it resonates, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So they got to be careful trying to do that stupid shit.
I completely agree. And honestly, I think they're going to try to go with Captain Marvel as a new thing. They're going to try to make Captain Marvel what Iron Man is now, like the shows, the superstar of the Marvel universe. I don't think it's going to work. And also, I don't see Brie Larson keeping her mouth shut. I think that she'll do if let's say there's a bad Captain Marvel movie, someone's going to be like, hey, I didn't really care for your role as Captain Marvel. And she's going to be like, if we had less white people watching the movie, we wouldn't have these problems. People would actually like it. And it's like, I'm not white. And, why do you keep saying that everyone who has a problem with it is simply just white, dismissive? I hate that. Instead of addressing the criticisms, it's just, it's just white males don't like it. That's it. It's like, really, you're not going to address the criticisms, the logical arguments that people are making. You're just going to just completely dismiss it. And I think that is what is going to happen with Marvel is they're thinking that, well, we built this giant empire, so now we can push this agenda-riddled crap, and it'll still make the same amount of money. But I think there'll be a rude awakening when that happens. And I think what's happening with the new Star Wars is you're going to have ideological driven actors like Brie Larson, stuff like that, lashing out at the fans, and it's going to hurt Marvel long term.
Yeah, I mean, I was at one point the biggest Marvel fan. I was ready to dedicate my life to make it to there and be a comic book artist. I can turn on them in a heartbeat. If they put out garbage in their movies, I'll be the first person to say, fuck it, I'm out. And you guys can ask me questions about it on the channel, and we'll cover fucking Die Hard 3 or some shit like that. Like, once they go full SJW in terms of their messages and all this other garbage, I'll leave. Star Wars has, I guess there's a morbid curiosity with Episode 9, more so than anything else. With Marvel, I don't want to see the Marvel movies fail because they've been such good experiences. They've been so much fun. Disney, even before it got overtly political with The Last Jedi, Disney had already tested my limits with their lack of storytelling. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see where we go with all this stuff. Marvel, it's weird. It's just the Disney brands. Disney's not infallible. Like, Disney can go down like they did in the 1980s. So they need to be careful. We'll see what happens with them in the coming years. Like they keep saying, go woke, go broke. We're not that small of a minority. Your average everyday person doesn't like this shit.
Well, I think what they're trying to do is, you ever see these films where they show like these SJW hipster type people, they're living off mommy and daddy's money, and they show them that they just have no care in the world, stuff like that. I think that's who they're trying to market to. I think that their long-term plan is that these type of people who are living off mommy and daddy's money, who buy into this agenda crap, will have kids, and they'll be like, well, we can market it to these people, and since they have money and they'll have kids, they'll buy all this stuff. And it's like, no, those people aren't interested in that stuff. They're not going to go and see the movie 20 times like dedicated fans are. They're going to go and see it once or twice or whatever. But these aren't the people who are going to buy their kids Spider-Man toys and whatnot. They'll probably buy their kids like those vinyl pops or an antique rocking horse or some random bullcrap like that. And they're not the people to market to. And even if you wanted to explore some ideologies in it, you can make a good movie with an agenda, not an overly over the top agenda, and still make a good flick. I mean, George Carlin would probably be a good representation of the whole thing. He was funny, and he made a point, and even if you didn't agree with him, you still were entertained by him.
Yeah, George Carlin was the man. I mean, I'm never going to debate that. And even They Live has a political message to it, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is like they do it so poorly. In Star Wars, it doesn't have a place. It's not about that. Star Wars is about something else. Marvel movies, here's the thing. I don't think anyone that watches these movies that has any complaints about the heavy-handedness of them, like everyone's for racial equality and all this stuff. Like no one ever sits and says, I dislike Black Panther because I dislike black people. That's not the case. If you dislike the movie, it's because, well, the villain's message is too heavy-handed and poorly constructed. The only reason I enjoyed it the way I did is because the villain does die, and that in the realm of the film, you know, that kind of those ideals aren't necessarily praised by the film. They're addressed in the film, but they're not given the victory that a certain minority of people would want. I don't, like I said, it's frustrating that it's in everything now, and it's happened all of a sudden. And it's not like I go out of my way to see this shit in movies. It's very overt. There are some things that, you know, like in Wonder Woman, there was a couple jokes about like do it myself or something like that. Yeah, that was a joke here and there, but the message of the movie wasn't that men are dumb, Wonder Woman is better than men type of thing. It had little messages here and there, but overall there was a niceness to the film. She was a very enjoyable character, not the greatest character in terms of female superheroes, but she had this like wide-eyed wonder about the world. She didn't really have a stick up her ass about stuff. It was funny in the right way. It wasn't like a Ghostbusters situation where the movie's just fucking stupid. Like, if anything, Ghostbusters hurt that movie. They hurt their cause big time because it was just so poorly constructed. Like, all these SJW agenda films are just badly made films first, and that's why they glom onto shit we all love, like Ghostbusters, or they would try to do it with Bond or the Ocean's movies and stuff like that. Like, they can't... People aren't going to pay to see this crap in regular everyday movies, so they just glom onto it.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Wonder Woman was good. I thought she was very charming, very caring, and I bought into. I wasn't a big Gal Gadot fan, and then I seen the film. I was like, you know what? I can buy into it. She has a different portrayal of Wonder Woman than in the animated series, but it was very good. I believed her as Wonder Woman, and I think what it is the SJWs have completely screwed up their own cause because they've made it so blatant and so over the top that when you watch a movie, you're automatically looking for it, and so anything that's said, even if it's in a harmless, kind manner, can be taken wrong. You're like you feel like you're being preached to because that's what they've been doing, is trying to shove their ideology into your face at every turn of your life. I mean, you can't escape it. It's in politics. It's in the news. It's in entertainment. It's in every little thing. And it's like, you know what? I don't want to buy into this bullshit. I just want to be entertained. And if you go back and watch some of these older films and stuff like that, a lot of them, like They Live, they had their political messages and stuff like that, but they didn't hit you over the head with it. So you're able to sit there and enjoy the movie and be like, if you agree with the political message, it was fine. If you didn't, it was also okay. But when they go in and they hammer fist everything into your face, then you're going to have pushback.
Well, it's funny that you brought up the politics thing, because now look, I'm not going to get into it, but the 2016 election was very divisive. We can all agree with that. Point is, though, pushing these types of things in movies now, when it's still very testy political climate, now's like the worst time to have done that. I mean, if they're really trying to either subvert people and get them to change or do this stuff, like, it's the worst time to do it, because people are already fed up with certain things, and just them being associated with that side of the spectrum is going to turn a lot of people off and cause a lot of problems. Like, if you if they really wanted to change this the right way, if there's a right way, you do it during a time of like political peace in quotations, and you don't just like hammer this shit down, because people are going to be more resistant to it.
Yeah, exactly. It honestly comes off as Sunday preaching to me more than it does some sort of trying to make the world better or whatever. I don't know what their whole thing is, but I think if they did it in a more finesse, you'd get more people to enjoy the films. But they're not subtle about it. It's like they just want to shout it into your face. And these movies aren't the way to go about it. You start fucking with people's entertainment, then people are going to be mad. It would be like, let's say you're having your favorite meal and someone shows up, and you have dinner conversation, but instead of conversation, they're just talking at you about this random crap and all this other stuff, and then making you seem like a bad person or whatnot. You don't care. You just want to enjoy your meal. And eventually you're going to get mad and you're going to reject everything they say, no matter what's said, because they're acting like assholes.
Exactly. And I think one of our fans removed their message that Kiruza Sokobi. I was getting ready to respond to that one. Sorry that you want to resend that. Oh, here we go. He said, or they resent it. It says, inserting politics and theory is a bad take. Demon in a bottle, or even Iron Man's origin in the Cold War. Anti-communist, for an example. Politics has to fit at the forefront. Well, let me, the Demon in the bottle, I'm not saying, well, I don't really think that's political as much as it is moral. Alcoholism, I don't think is a political thing as much as it is a moral and health, health story that you should, focus on. Plus, I think a lot of people can agree with, like, alcoholism is a bad thing. Having a drink's fine, partying and being drunk's different. Different levels are acceptable to different people. But when it's like Tony Stark's level, I think most people agree that that's bad. So that's why I wouldn't necessarily call that politics. And, anti-communism from the early 60s makes sense because of what it is. It's like when Iron Man came out in 2008, the film, they changed it from communist. Well, where did he like? Was it China or was he in Vietnam in the comic book? Say it was Vietnam or something. But that's why he was dealing with Middle Eastern terrorists. It fit with the times. Now the times are so weird. We don't necessarily have like an enemy. It's like back with all old Bond movies, Russians were the enemies. So maybe Bond was fighting this villain or that villain, but in the background is the Russian threat. We had the political threat of Middle Eastern terrorism and stuff from the early 2000s up until recently. Now it's too PC for them to change it or say that kind of stuff. So the new threat has to be internal and all this shit, and it doesn't necessarily work.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, I think we all know the real enemy here. It's the white male. I know when I see one, I get terrified. I go on the other side of the street. It doesn't matter what he looks like. I'm just like, oh God, why are they here? They're everywhere. It's like, help me, help me, Black Jesus, save me from the white man. Now, on a serious note, adding politics and stuff like that makes sense for the time is completely fine. No one's saying that they shouldn't add in these political messages or whatever. It's the way they go about it. When you go over the top and it detracts from the movie, detracts from the character, it makes people look stupid, and it takes the whole movie up with its whole agenda in a really bad way. That's when people start having problems with it. No one's ever had an issue with some of the stuff before. It's just that they've gone about it in such a really, really bad way that people are turned off by this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and somebody's saying that they don't mind politics. It's modern politics. Well, modern politics are fucking trash. So that's why they don't fit, especially in something like a Star Wars. So, yeah, this is probably the most political it's been, but it's not a bad thing. I don't think this stuff works with Marvel and Star Wars. You can have what's a good political, like Civil War, the comic book works great because it's like post Patriot Act and stuff like that, and your civil liberties and your freedoms are being given up, stuff that people agree with. But there's this weird fringe, this small minority, this small fringe minority that gets to control the entertainment that people are like, what? How is this even a real world issue? So I think that's where it comes with a lot of these problems of today.
Yeah, it simply doesn't fit with Marvel and Star Wars. Like I said, it's a good backdrop, but it can't be the whole, front and center of what you're trying to do with the movie. It just doesn't work. It's not the proper movie for that. There's political movies to be made for that sort of thing if you want to watch that sort of stuff. I mean, Michael Moore makes a career out of doing stuff like that. It doesn't mean that the new Marvel movies need to be exactly like that. They don't need to be a political documentary on the way things are and stuff like that, because it just doesn't make any sense. It also dates the film too, because eventually in 10 years things will change. When you go back and watch this stuff, it's like, oh geez, what the hell is that? It's a complete turnoff.
Yeah, and these types of movies that we have been talking about are essentially escapist entertainment on the grandest of scale. It's not like, I keep jumping back to like Carpenter and stuff like that. It works in other elements. Hell, you can make James Bond more political if you wanted to, depending on the quality of the storytelling. I'm not saying you need to make a Brexit 007 flick, but you could have certain things in the background as well as how he can operate. So you could make it really interesting if you have the right people involved, but you don't hire the right people nowadays because of their storytelling ability or their ability to make a film. They're hired on brownie points for what they've done or said in the behind the scenes, and they're not as talented as other people. Like I said before, I don't think the quest for money in terms of making movies is a problem as much as other things are. Let's see. Avatar says military industrial complex owns entertainment. Maybe. Somebody owns entertainment. I don't like it.
I don't know who it is. It ain't me, though. I wish it was.
People are still talking about James Bond and the code numbers. Yeah, your code number is your code number, but James Bond, the man, is not a code name. There's not multiple people named James Bond. They're all the same guys. So, see, they need to bring back G.I. Joe back to television. Most movies are pro-war. These movies are doo-doo nice ice. They really are. Logan Michael sent in a super chat. I scored a 2002 Spider-Man statue. Is it the one where he's on the building? Because I kind of want that. You still here, Ghetto Bible?
I am here. I'll just listen to you for a little bit. I was thinking about talking about more of the comics. I think comics are a great thing. I don't like the way they're doing with the politics now, but when I was growing up, I grew up in a really bad area, and I'm Hispanic, and the whole thing was like a gang culture and whatnot. It wasn't until I got into comic books I started reading it, and that I started changing and getting into Star Wars and various things like that. And I think that comic books were a great escape and whatnot. To see them go political and stuff like that, over the top political, where it alienates people and it's in your face, it kind of goes against the messages of what I think comic books really are. And I think that's a shame when they do that, when they people try to push their ideologies onto everyone else using mediums that people use to escape or to watch, to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, I think too that the people that are doing it just are so shitty at it. Like, God damn it, they suck. Even if you don't take, if like somebody like a Dan Slott, who's not the most political person in the world, the stories are just shitty. They don't get the characters. By the way, Logan Michael, if you got the giant Spider-Man statue, the life-size one from Blockbuster, I'm fucking jealous. I'm just putting it out there, dude. I want one so bad.
Yeah, that sounds like a really cool statue. I haven't collected too much of that stuff. I haven't, honestly, in a couple of years, I haven't thought about this stuff until I found your guys' channels and I got back into it. As a kid, you weren't allowed to look at comic books and stuff like that. Seriously, real talk. My dad used to say that the X-Men had their powers from Satan and whatnot. It was just completely nuts.
My mom actually was the one that got me into this shit. Because people say, oh, girls didn't read comics back in the day, this, that, and the other. My mom may not have been reading Spider-Man in the comics. She was reading Millie the Model and shit like that, but she watched all the shows, and she knew that she liked that stuff, and boys like that, and it kind of got me into comics. So my mom and I have always, she's always been pushing me into that stuff, and I can't believe. I mean, everyone has their own upbringing. I'm not here to criticize or judge or whatever, but I just can't believe you were told that it was like they got their powers from Satan.
Seriously, I am not making this. I wish I was. He told me that they got their powers from Satan and that it was trying to push this demonic stuff onto you and whatnot. I mean, he was the guy who believed that those karate guys when they break bricks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Discovery did. I think it was Discovery did something like they do it so much that their bones turn to rocks, so as hard as rocks, so they can shatter that stuff. He said it was all because of like the demonic strength and all this stuff. So that's why the X-Men were so powerful, because they were like demons or something like that.
I mean, damn, that is I don't know. I went to a Catholic school, and they just were cool about stuff. It was weird though, because people think you go to Catholic school and it's one way. We actually were taught about like evolution and stuff in Catholic school. So that's just bizarre. I'm sorry. I don't want to harp on it to try to, make it a thing, but I'm just blown away that somebody would tell you that. My God, that reminds me of the Waterboy's mother, Mama, so-and-so is the devil.
It was. I love the Waterboy, but those scenes with his mom is exactly how my dad was. I think one of the craziest times was someone at school had given me an X-Men comic. It was a Dark Phoenix thing. It was a pretty thick one. I didn't get to read it. I took it home and I hid it. And my little brother found it, and he was walking around with it. My dad had seen it, and he grabs it, starts looking, and he's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's someone gave me to read from school." He's like, "You can't have this. It's demonic. It's evil." I'm like, "Well, just keep it, and I'll take it back to the kid at school." And he's like, "No, he shouldn't be reading it either because he'll be possessed by demons." He starts ripping up the comic in front of me and starts throwing it in the trash. I mean, not just like ripping out pages. I mean, like little pieces. He's just sitting there, page by page, making him watch me rip up this comic and toss it into the trash. It was just absolutely nuts.
Yeah, that kind of stuff pisses me off. Like I said, I'm not here to judge your dad or anything like that, but it's so wrong. I mean, there's nothing demonic about it. They're just mutants with powers. It's fiction, first and foremost. And in many ways, the X-Men is a nice way that they can tie in politics and talk about these things on a better scale. Like the X-Men was about inclusion, and they had gay characters and this stuff, and they dealt with AIDS and all these things and homophobia, all in a tactful way back in the day before you could even put this kind of stuff in kids' books. It was in there, and it was, it taught you about humanity and equality and all this shit, and it wasn't preachy. And if you're a kid, you just saw an action story that was fun. And if you're a little older, you could read more into it. And that was the beauty of a lot of these early Marvel works, or anything, Marvel up until recently. They just don't have that tact anymore. I hope I would be pissed though, as that kid, somebody's like, "Yeah, my dad ripped up your comic book because he said it's satanic." What'd he say?
I went to school. I was probably like in the third grade. Yeah, it was the third grade, and I told him, and I cried, honestly. I was so upset. I cried, and he told me it was okay, and this, and that. He couldn't bring the comics to school anyways because I guess kids were stealing from him. But he was totally cool. He totally understood. He was my best friend in that grade, and I thought he was going to be pissed, but he wasn't. He just, he let me. He brought in a couple other stuff, and I got to read that. But he was totally understanding. But it's just crazy because my dad's just this psychotic religious fanatic, and my mom is a completely crazy SJW feminist. So it's like I'm trapped between these two crazy people.
All you can do is love your parents and do what you feel is right in your life. If it's clearly you have a different take on the kind of stuff they're into in terms of entertainment, because you wouldn't be here on this channel. But it's interesting to hear the perspective of somebody who lived this type of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's what irritates me when it's like I'm not going to harp on SJWs too much in this talk, but
you can talk about whatever you want, dude.
Oh well, it just pisses me off. I almost feel personally offended, not literally shaking tight, but when people sit there and try to blame people, say you're sexist, misogynist, and stuff like that. And I find that completely bullshit that, comic readers would all be like that. My first introduction to comic books, besides the X-Men stuff like that, didn't happen until I was like maybe 14 or 15. I went to a comic book store and I started looking at some of the comics. I didn't realize you couldn't read them, and they never told me nothing. I read some Spider-Man, some X-Men, but I got into a lot of. I went to this one section because they had a place to sit, and I started reading comics. And I read Danger Girl, Suspiria, Lady Death, and a bunch of stuff. 9 out of 10 comics that I read had female characters, and for the most part, they were actually really good. Witchblade was one I really liked, and when I read this stuff, I never thought to myself, well, when over the top stuff happened, I was like, okay, that's kind of dumb. But at the same time, it wasn't like, well, this is a girl, she can't be a hero. This is stupid. No, I never thought like that. I've never seen anybody go in there who read those comics that I talked to with ever had that sort of notion that women were inferior or this and this and that. Anyone ever talked to that's ever complained about a female character is usually because they're a bad character or there's some agenda being pushed or something like what is it, America Chavez or whatever. She sucks.
You damn right.
So yeah, I get irritated when these people try to make it out that we're all just a bunch of sexists because we don't like this or that, and it's like, no, come on. The first comics I read were in my older years were all based on females, and I love those comics. So they can take that stuff and just shove off with it. I'm so sick of hearing about them trying to discredit any criticism because of that. But you have to look at it this way. It's pretty smart that they do that, because now bad movies, bad directors, bad actors have a built-in defense against any sort of criticism. Don't like this movie? Oh, well, it's because you hate such and such person, or you hate this or that. And it's such a lame-ass excuse for putting out such a shit product.
Yeah, I mean, I have to pretty much reiterate that point all the time. I still talk to Michael from Retroblast, and we're still cool. He sent me an article that was so rife with this garbage that it's taken me like 3 sit-downs to read, and I'm going to have a video prepared probably for next week, because it's going to take me that long to get through all of this shit. Like, I have found the mother lode of like all garbage in a hit piece. Like, this guy has gone out of his way to say, oh, I know Rian Johnson personally, and I don't care about you disliking the movie and all this shit. Like, this is a really terribly written article, and when I get that video out, you guys are going to be surprised that somebody like this is real and that has a huge platform like this. But the defense mechanism that's built into this crap, if anything, it makes me more critical of movies, and it makes me like hyper aware of bad storytelling and this, that, and the other. Because like you said, it's not about disliking women. Like, I liked X-Men as a kid, and I liked Storm, and I liked Rogue, and Jubilee was okay, but Jean Grey was lame. But then again, not all the guys were great either. I liked Cyclops and Gambit and Wolverine, but I wasn't really a fan of like the one-time Colossus or Peter or this. It just depends on the character. They take instant criticism. It's like you can't say anything bad about a female or minority character. It's like, yo, I hate Jar Jar Binks. Well, he's voiced by a black guy. I got a problem with black people. No, Jar Jar Binks is fucking stupid. Anything that you try to say about a poorly created character, no matter what they look like, is bad. If anything, these people should be happy that we have the ability to criticize these characters, because it shows you that, one, we think critically, and two, you consider these characters equal to any other character, and therefore you expect them to be as well represented. They don't get bonus points for representation or whatever. They need to be able to stand on their own as good characters. And these, SJW critics or whatever they want to do are just downplaying their cause. Like I said to you earlier, man, you let them alone long enough, they'll cannibalize each other. They'll eat themselves apart, like with Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, exactly. And what's crazy is they make it sound like we just like only male characters. I mean, there's a bunch of male characters that I don't like. Like, comic book wise, I think Falcon's a pile of crap. He sucks, And there's several other male characters that have come out that are just dumb. Like, DC Universe, I don't really care for, Elastic Man or any of that crap. Elongated Man, and all these side characters that aren't really all that great. And it's like, why do they think that it's just focused on one group of people when it's just, we just don't like these bad characters?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of there are tons of dude characters that I dislike. There are women characters I don't like either. I mean, I'm trying to think of some female, I don't like new Miss Marvel. Like Captain Marvel, I don't like the character. That's why I'm not excited for the film. Not because I dislike the idea of a female superhero or dislike Brie Larson as an actress. I think she's a shit person who needs to stop making it about these things and let people just criticize a film for, a film. But I've experienced the characters and I don't like them. But yeah, Booster Gold is a lame character. Who else is pretty shitty? God, there's just so many. I don't like Iron Fist in the TV show. He wasn't that great. Also don't like Jessica Jones. So, I mean, like when I critique the Defenders, I critique them all on the same playing field that started with Daredevil and ended with Luke Cage season 2.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like you were saying, it's like there's a ton of dude characters that suck. And going back to what I said about reading about female character comics, like I said, I like Lady Death. There was another one about this. I don't know, I never figured, I can't remember the name. It was about some red demon lesbian vampire. She ran around, but her character in comic books sucked because there was nothing to it other than her just killing bad guys, in the same comic book easily with no struggle, and then her getting laid and stuff like that. There was no backstory. It's like, okay, even as a teenager, I'm like, all right, this is pretty hot, but where's the story? What am I supposed to be looking at here? Because nothing in this comic book is speaking out to me. I mean, the coolest person that she had in her comic book was this. It's a pretty crazy character. It's like this, like flying fetus that's like this demigod, and I was like, well, that's a cool character. That character kills her, but then the next panel she kills him. I'm just like, oh wow. So basically, all her enemies she just beats. Like she's like I would say she's like a lesbian vampire demon version of Rey.
So I can skip it then.
Oh God, yes. It's just not a good comic, and I don't know who thought of it. It just looks. I guess it's some guys, fan fiction sort of thing. It's a pretty bad comic. I can't even remember the name. That's how bad it is.
Well, somebody said, Broman sent in a super chat that said, Faith from Valiant Comics is a horrible superhero. Now, Broman, I've never personally read Faith, but I'm aware of the character. She's only notable because she's the fat female superhero. Now, if the stories are excellent, that's I have different judgment. But if the character gets a pass because of how she looks, that's doesn't make it a good story. Like if the story is dog shit and she's that, I'm not giving it a pass. If stories are great and there we go, then the comic is good. So it's really like a comic book is good. I don't care that, I mean, they could draw me into a comic, and if the story's shitty, I'm going to call it like I call it. My ego can handle, saying something I'm a part of is terrible.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I have nothing against anorexia or fat superhero. In fact, I thought, a cool superhero for a fat person might be, I always thought of a character that used his, weight to superpower himself, fat or calories, energy store up. So let's say you have the superhero that burns it all to fight. The more he burns up, the stronger he gets. But his weakness is if he keeps burning it up, he eventually wastes away to nothing. So it's a balancing act. He has to stay heavy in order to have the power to fight people. See, something like that would be interesting, because then it's not just, this person's fat, so yay them. No, they're fat for a reason, and they have to be this way. And then you could do something with the struggles where they're this badass hero, but no one pays attention to them because of how they look or something like that. And it's like this, you have to struggle with this person who is debating between, should I stay this way to save people, or should I, get in shape and stuff like that. But if something comes up and I use up my energy, I could kill myself, something like that. I don't know.
No, I get it. I just think the faith thing, like I said, I have to reserve judgment for the actual stories themselves. All I'm going to say is the character shouldn't get a pass just because of what they're attempting to do with representation. That's not enough. You have to prove yourself. You have to prove yourself to me.
Yeah, exactly. And besides, when it comes to comic books and stuff like that, I don't want to see anybody who really looks like me. I want to see, so I can identify with Peter Parker even though I don't look like him. It's
Same.
Fun. Iron Man, there's times in Iron Man, Captain America and stuff like that. That's what these characters are for, is to be, these iconic characters are for. You identify with them, the inner hero, without looking like them. You don't have to be them to act like them. I think that's what the whole point of the comic books is.
It is. I mean, there is not a single comic book character that actually looks like me. So the fact that I can get behind Batman and Superman and Spider-Man and all these people, they just have to be cool. Little kids for the last 50 years were able to get behind these characters. I just don't see why all of a sudden people have to like what they look like. Like what looks like them. That's bad. A bad indicator for the quality of a character. Like, I think it would be really shitty if you go into a low income neighborhood and you're like, oh, kids, don't you love Black Panther? And the kid's like, I like Captain America, I like Iron Man and shit like that. It's a generalization, and a stupid generalization at that.
Well, that, and I think it's a dumb generalization, but it's also we should be teaching people, kids especially, that you can have heroes that don't look like you. I don't understand these people like, well, if this doesn't have representation of me exactly how I am, I'm not interested in it. Why? I can go and listen to a woman talk or whatever, hear her stories, her experiences or whatever, and completely identify with it and be like, hey, that is cool. There's no reason for me to go in there and be like, well, she says something, intelligent and noteworthy, and I'm just like, well, she's a woman, so I don't care. I'm not represented, so nothing she says matters. That's a really bad way of looking at life.
It is, and that's what those people that are trying to bastardize the entertainment, that's how they see it. And it's, I don't know. I don't want to say like the future of entertainment is completely bleak, but if we continue down the path we're going down now, there's going to be damage done for the next couple years, and it's going to take something really huge to come out and change that. And maybe it takes something really small to change that. Maybe, a group of guys will make a movie or girls, whoever, but a group of people will make a movie that will, change entertainment, and then it'll make a whole bunch of money on a small budget. And then we'll get like the found footage craze of the late 90s, early 2000s after Blair Witch. So it was at 98, 99. So then you had all these found footage movies that came out, and you still do, but you get something like that really changes the the entertainment world. So that's, I think, what's going to happen after we get through this current phase of garbage.
Yeah, I hope so. And to be honest, I don't care who does what when it comes to making films. I don't care what that person is. I don't care what they do, as long as they're not hurting kids or animals, and everything they do is consensual, and they're not trying to force something on me agenda-wise. Please, I don't care. Just give me a good character, a good story, something I can relate to in a sense where the person's quality stand up. Their skin color, their gender, who they sleep with, what they do, doesn't matter. What matters is the character of the person. And that's the whole thing. I think that's what they forget is that these characters are more than just what they look like. It's the entire character that people like. And for these people that these agenda-driven people, they don't see that. Instead, what they see is just like, well, we have to have this representation. They're so busy focusing on representation and all this little extra stuff that doesn't matter that they don't build a proper character. So when that character fails, it must be because they look different or something like that.
You know, I pulled up this Faith comic just for the hell of it since people brought it up. It looks pretty dumb. She saves some hunky dude without a shirt. Like, that's the beginning of this story. I've pretty much lost interest. Plus, the artwork's not that good. I don't know. Maybe I'll read it through on principle, but if that is made into a movie, you know, it's going to be sold as, you know, body positive superhero flick, blah, 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 and not, hey, man, this movie's awesome. Like, you got to listen to people that say the movie's awesome.
Isn't her character power telekinesis or something like that? I mean, it's kind of fitting for a couch potato. You know, Levin, the remote and the food. She could get food out of the refrigerator, the ice cream, the Haagen-Dazs out of the freezer without getting off the couch. That's perfect power.
She was flying around, dude. Like, from what I was reading, she was flying through the city in like a weird like waist cape thing. I don't know. This artist can't draw teeth to save their life, so it's a really off-putting facial design, and they're very inconsistent too.
You know, hearing about this now, I want to see a comic book about a couch potato who's just this lazy bastard who just sits on the couch all day, and they use their telekinesis to fight crime, but they're too lazy to get off the couch to go get a glass of water or something.
You know what we do? Let's make that happen, dude. We have a 7th World Class Bullshitters comic. Dan. They'll call it Dan because I have a friend named Dan. He'll like something named after him.
Yeah, it'd be completely great. Just have this I don't care who it's just this fat person using telepathic powers and picking stuff up and just sitting on the couch. It's like 90% of the comic is them sitting there watching daytime TV and reality shows, and then crime happens and they go out and stop them, and then they come back, and that's their whole life. That's definitely a representation and the type of thing you want to push out to kids now.
Yeah, it's funny. Kids still gravitate towards the old classical shit. The Batman will be around forever, and you notice they don't really do too much of this identity politics stuff. And with Batman himself, he's essentially the same. Because there's so much money in Batman. And DC can't fuck around because their movies don't make an infinite amount of money. Marvel's do, so they can piss around with the characters in the books and not worry about it. But DC kind of needs all the money they can get. So Batman's the same. They returned Superman back to some degree. I read the newest Superman issue. I hated how the Martian Manhunter was written, but that's just me. But we'll see. I partially am excited for Superman because they brought the classic suit back. So it's a very shallow reason why I read the book, but the red trunks and that classic design really bring back the old Superman, at least visually, and I'm hoping we get the old Superman back in terms of his stances. You know, he's supposed to represent the best in humanity, no matter what part of the globe you come from.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I don't think they'll ever mess with Batman, because messing with Batman, if they ever changed him drastically, you'd get a comic book version of the Boston Tea Party. You'd have people dressed up in comic book suits, those characters, and then just tossing boxes of comics, of these new comics, into the water. You'd create such a shitstorm that they'll never, ever touch Batman in that sort of way. I would like to see a hopeful Superman and whatnot. And I think what it is when it comes to Superman that's hard on the big screen, at least, it's like he's just so godlike. And then what happens is people, you can't really put on the whole thing when you look at the comics about how he's such a great guy and whatnot on the big screen, because it probably wouldn't make that great of a movie of 2 hours of him just being this great guy. But you can still add that in there. I think that's what's missing from Superman in the current movies.
Yeah, there's so much missing. Look, I like Henry Cavill. I think he's a fine actor. And when I say fine, I'm not saying like fine as in like, oh, the finest of fine. I meant like he's fine. He's okay. I'll give him a pass in his terms of acting, and I would like him to be 007. But Zack Snyder didn't get any of the DC characters right. And that's going to damage that brand for 10 years because we're still in the middle of that DCEU. And it's sad. It's sad that we're, DC at one point was the king of the cinematic world. When Dark Knight came out, even though the MCU was rolling, the Dark Knight was still the gold standard and still the thing everyone talked about. Then the Avengers came out, and while many don't consider the Avengers a superior film in terms of technical prowess or anything like that, it captured the public's imagination, and DC's never really had that back. Wonder Woman was a thing last summer. By the end of the year, we got Thor Ragnarok, and then Black Panther, and everything else was back to the Marvel thing. So DC, man, I'm telling you, they need to get their shit together. And now they're kind of falling apart too, because they hired that woman that wrote one of those Miss Marvel books or something for Wonder Woman now. So we're gonna get some of this weird SJW Wonder Woman garbage.
Oh, that's gonna sell. I think they really need to look at the trends. Like, they have people talking about Wonder Woman, all this stuff, and then, like you said, Thor Ragnarok came out, Black Panther went from Wonder Woman to Black Panther. It's gonna jump back and forth, and I think they need to realize that when they're trying to pander to this group, they're just going to jump on the next big thing. Whatever is popular in the media is what they're going to be attracted to. They're not going to go back. They don't care about Wonder Woman anymore. Only the people who like Wonder Woman and people who are comic book fans like Wonder Woman now. So trying to pander to these people who just, they jump on these comic book movies and stuff like that, because they're basically the same people that, like Wonder Woman, she's so great, all this other stuff. Then Black Panther comes out, oh, Wakanda forever, and all this other stuff. You can't pander to those people. Those people aren't going to give you money.
No, and we'll use the old Spider-Man for an example. There was no SJW movement back then. They just made a Spider-Man movie that would appeal to as many people as possible. Now, instead of making a movie that appeals to as many people as possible, they make a movie that will appeal to people, but they won't offend these online critics. Fuck the online critics. Everyone that writes these think pieces, and I'm using quotations for the word think because they're just pulling it out of their ass. Those people don't need to be worried about. Don't worry about making the movie for them. If you make a movie that you think is the best, and some self-righteous dickhead on a blog is like, well, this is offensive because you know what? Then they don't need to see the damn movie. Just, ignore them. In a way, just tell them to fuck off. So you can't say that as a company, but still, you get my drift.
Yeah, exactly. Catering to them, they're never going to be happy. You may appease critic number one, but you're never going to appease critic number two, number three, etc. There's always going to be someone who's going to one up. You can have the most diverse cast ever and make a decent film, and it won't be enough. They'll find something to complain about. They'll be like, well, this movie was good, but it was still too male driven, or this character was good, but she's a white female. What about POC? Or this POC was good, but it didn't address this issue. It's just never ending. So instead of worrying about them, worry about doing a good movie. Worry about putting out good characters, good stories, and good, representation of those characters that fits in with the comics, with the lore and whatnot. And if you want more diversity, and more of that sort of thing. Make new characters. Don't sit there and race change, gender swap. It's lazy. Why don't you sit down, hammer out a good character, and then put them in with this stuff? You know, I know a lot of people say, well, they won't get traction, stuff like that. Well, this is what you do. You make them a good character, find a good actor, insert them into a movie as a side character to somebody else, and eventually people will be like, hey, I like that person. Let's see more of them. And there you go. You have an established character.
Yeah, you do that, or you can even insert these characters into supporting cast or backup stories in these bigger Marvel books instead of trying to cater to whatever stupid regressive idea of your new characters. You basically just say, hey, backup story, and don't worry about it. And real quick, Bromance says you should check out Rai. He's pretty badass. Spelled R-A-I. Is that how you like Rai Chi, the guy from Mortal Kombat? I'll check it out. You guys, if you have suggestions, you can always just shoot me an email at worldclassbs@mail.com, and I will. I keep them. I keep all the emails, so I can check those out at a later date.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that you have all these people in the comic book industry. And I think that they're so agenda-driven that they don't understand what makes comic books, and that is good characters, good storytelling. And they're so focused on their agendas that they completely miss the forest for the trees, you know? And I don't know why they don't just sit back and do it. And it's kind of weird that these people like Heather Antos and whatnot, they say all this stuff and do all this stuff, but they hurt their own causes when they act like jackasses, and they completely miss the point of comic books in itself. They say, oh, I'm a big comic book fan, but then they miss the very meat and potatoes of what a comic book is.
Yeah. I don't think the people that were talking about the Comicsgates, Comicsgate's the new name or whatever, but the people that talk about the comic stuff a couple years back or the last couple years, it's so I don't know. All the there's two problems. Well, more than two. Comic books don't pay that much, so you get the big creators that Marvel and DC don't want to pay. They leave and they go work on a image book or this book or that, and they get more money, and they put all this money and time into this independently owned franchise or independently owned character to make movies and all that stuff to really make some serious bank. So the people that want to or can work at Marvel and DC are the leftover types of people. You get bad art, you get bad stories, you get bad editing, there's typos, all kinds of stuff happen in these stupid Marvel books nowadays. And it's just embarrassing to, like, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby and these guys would not have put out trash by, like, what's trash by today's standards is different than what was trash back then. But you have really great artists and writers elsewhere. Marvel should take that instead of putting out crappy books and not wanting to pay people, just get the best talent, pay them, and get the best books and get huge returns. You know, the 80s was a really golden age for comic books. You had your big mainstream stuff. You had your really great niche, smaller books as well. You had, like, Sandman was out, and there was Animal Man that was kind of big in the 80s. So you had books that were taking chances and risks and had stuff to say, and it was done tactfully and great. And now we just live in a world of banal crap that, quite honestly, it just tires me out to even try to consume that. And it hurts so many people when Marvel puts out garbage books. Like, I love my local comic book guys. I think they're great people. Rick and Dave at Rock and Rooster Comics. If you're in Cincinnati, check them out. But bad Marvel keeps me out of their store. So that keeps my money from them. And you could say, well, why don't you support them if you like them so much? I'm a consumer that buys what I like. If people aren't putting out books that I like, well, I'm not going to just go buy crap that I'm not going to use. I guess I'm too practical for that. But it hurts the comic book industry when people aren't going to buy books. Then it also hurts I don't go to conventions because I don't want to converse with I don't want to go down there and try to buy crap based on stuff I don't like either, because whatever is the newest stuff is what they take to conventions, even if it's not popular. Like, I'll concede and say Spider-Gwen's popular enough to get toys and merchandise, but I don't say that Silk or other characters out there in the Spider-Verse are worthy of merchandise and that popular. So Marvel's weird progressive kick just it hurts more people than it benefits. And that new diversity comic, or that new cartoon that they're putting out, like Lockjaw and Squirrel Girl and all that other crap, that's gonna flop too. I don't care how many years they put it on the show or TV and tell you, oh, it's the most impressive show, until you see some figures to go with that. It's bullshit.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if they're not careful, they're going to end up chasing all the top people out, if they haven't already, to do independent comics. I mean, look at Ethan Van Sciver. Last I checked, it was like at $350,000 or something like that for his independent comic. I mean, that's insane. And all it takes is just, and all he did was just get on YouTube, talk about comics, his passion for them and stuff like that, and then talk about how he didn't like how things were going, and went back and did Cyberfrog. And you have all these people that put in support, even if they're from the biggest comic fans to people who just like what he has to say, supporting him. And I think that's what's going to happen to Marvel and DC, is you're going to have a bunch of independent people that are going to put out their own thing, and they're going to be losing money while these independent people are going to be thriving. The independent scene will thrive because they're going to be putting out good stories and listen to what the fans want, whereas DC and Marvel are going to double down and not listen to anybody else but what these progressives say.
All I can say is I hope when I put out a comic, it hits that kind of number, because shit, my life would be crazy if I could put out a comic to get that kind of traction. Definitely would make me rethink my career path. I'd go back to drawing in a heartbeat. But no, you're right though. The smaller fan-driven stuff will be the future. I mean, look at this channel. We're a small channel by YouTube standards, but a lot of people come to this channel for their entertainment. There are a lot of disenfranchised people that are fed up with garbage on TV, garbage in the movies, so they just kick back, play a video game, listen to a stream, and then they get involved in the channel. You found us, you got involved. Now you're on the show here tonight. All kinds of people get involved. It's funny, for as much as these people in power claim inclusivity and all this stuff, like not just we, but like channels like this definitely are more, inclusive than whatever they try to tout.
Exactly. And honestly, stuff like YouTube, the independent entertainers, they're the next big thing. I know there's a lot of people who now watch YouTube more than they do any other shows. They'll catch a flick on Amazon or Netflix and stuff like that here and there, or a show on TV. But I think more people are consuming YouTube and channels like this more than they are, other places. When I go to work, if I can, I listen to your guys' cast and shows and stuff like that. I go through a list. Ranging from the silly to the political to comic books and stuff like that. Most of my entertainment comes from YouTube, and even when I'm playing video games, I'll watch some random crap on YouTube. And I think that's what's missing out on with these big companies, is that they think that they're going to suddenly get this influx of people who are trapped. Like, you have no other avenue. But I hate to break it to them, independent entertainers are where it's at, and there's always going to be an outlet. We don't have to watch your crap. We can watch something else.
Yeah, and I guess they'll realize that when it's too late. They can try to buy up people. Like I said, we've been contacted a whole bunch about joining MCNs and stuff like that, but I like doing it the way we do it now and have no desire to. I don't say that's to sell out, but I just don't want to be controlled and be like, you guys can't do this, or you have to put out this many videos or that. The cool thing about this audience is that they're very forgiving. Sometimes it may take a couple extra days to pump out a video, but then they're all waiting for it. You got the people who are on the notification squad, and they roll in, and it's way more fulfilling than, working for a big machine. I mean, I went to college. I knew what corporate jobs and stuff were going to be, and this is way cooler and way more personal. Like, if I worked in an advertising business, yeah, maybe an advertisement I worked on would reach, you have a big client like Coca-Cola, reach 1 million people. But I've done it independently now, and that's just so crazy to think, through the power of the internet, anything's possible.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you have a lot of content creators who went from nothing to having big followings and making good money and putting out quality content. I watched a YouTuber here by the name of Chris Raygun, and he's more political, so I'm not going to go into anything crazy he does. But his show is entertaining. He has side characters and all this other crazy crap on his show, and he only puts out videos, maybe once a week, if that. And every time you watch it, it's always really good. It's really entertaining. And then like your show, the World Class Bullshitters, there's something usually out every day, and I always try to consume it as much as I can. And that I think that's the future. People look forward to this sort of stuff. I honestly. I have some streaming services, and honestly, I haven't watched too much. Like the last thing I watched was Goliath with Billy Bob Thornton. He was great, but all the other characters, weren't so great. Honestly, I'm more entertained by what I see on YouTube than I was by that show, and that's just sad.
When we were talking about Netflix stuff earlier, most of the Netflix stuff I can't even sit through because it's not even it's about political ideology. I just find it to be stupid crap, poorly written entertainment. So I'll watch little I don't want to say snippets, but like small little consumable videos because I'll be honest, this is a very time consuming thing, but I just watch like little videos from Mashed or this or that, and in 5-minute things so I can move on to other stuff. I just couldn't. I can't. The thing is, I can't invest 15 hours into Luke Cage over a weekend. I can't invest 6 hours to Glow over a weekend. Like there's just so much stuff to do. Binging's nice, but also it's dangerous for me. Like I have to keep myself away from it completely, or else I'll go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. I watch Luke Cage and all that stuff at work when I'm on lunch break and whatnot. And recently, I just finished Voltron, the animated series from DreamWorks. Actually, really good show. I was surprised how good of a show it is. The voice acting's great. Everything about it's really good. And I think that's probably one of the last things that I've seen that's been absolutely entertaining to me, on Netflix and whatnot. I go through, me and my friend will watch some stupid horror movies here and there, but overall, I've not really been entertained by a lot of the stuff that's been put on Amazon or Netflix and stuff like that.
For me, the reason I like Hulu right now, I'm very happy with Hulu because they just put up a bunch of movies that I'm excited about. And it's not that I'm only wanting to watch old stuff, but it gives me an opportunity. Like, I've never seen Taxi Driver. Hulu's got it. I'm going to sit down and watch that. For whatever Hulu would spend to get Taxi Driver, I don't give a shit how many weird high cooking show. Well, I don't even mind the high cooking shows on Netflix, but like however original movies they put out and crap. Oh, we got this actor. That's cool, but I'd rather watch Taxi Driver. Oh, and they got Buckaroo Banzai. Oh, and they got Bill and Ted. Oh, and they got, I'm saying Hulu and stuff like that just has a library that I want to consume. Netflix can make all the content they want and pump $20 trillion into that shit. But at the end of the day, I would rather watch any other Will Smith movie with the exception of 6 Degrees of Separation over that one that he put out, Bright or whatever, on Netflix. There's just, I don't get it. There's a stink about them. And plus, when you, like a big movie premiering on your TV, I want to go to a theater. I want to be blown away. And yeah, I have, a flat screen TV and some decent speakers I've had for like 5 or 6 years, but nothing is like, that 150-foot screen and all that giant shit you see. Like, you can't replicate that. And the crowd interaction, you can't interact that. Yes, even After Earth, Zaire, or Exaire.
Oh, After Earth is such a bad movie, but Bright's worse. I mean, I can't fathom that. It's just crazy to me that if someone told me I had to watch one of those movies, either After Earth or Bright, I think I'd pick After Earth.
Yeah, because at least I can laugh at this fucking kid. And by the way, when you get a chance, you can go back and listen to our old episodes. We used to have a Jaden Smith segment.
Oh, that guy's just awful. I mean, I don't know why they keep pushing him for. It's just, oh geez. It's like, please stop with this kid. He's just not good. He doesn't have no charisma. He can't act. I just don't know what they're doing with this guy. And I just have this feeling that they're going to push Jaden in some sort of Marvel movie role.
Yeah, and it's not going to work. And then they're going to try to hide behind the racist and then all that other shit cue that people always do, that criticism. But it's like, yo, it's just that he's not that good of an actor.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the stuff where they hide behind it, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there's some scummy people in this world on Twitter, so I'm not going to completely dismiss that there's racist idiots on Twitter harassing people. But they only focus on those people. They don't focus on the logical criticism that has been given forth. Like, this person can't act very well. And it's crazy that they do that. But then it makes sense. It's like, it wouldn't surprise me that they ate this sort of stuff on because, we've seen stuff with trolling polls and stuff like that from 4chan. So I could see people just being upset, oh, these people are misogynist and sexist. So you have SJWs, trolls, and very much things just feeding the fire simply so they can have something to bitch about because it's funny.
Yeah. That's why personally I stay off Twitter because I don't have, in the words of Sweet Brown, ain't nobody got time for that. Twitter's great, and that's how I stay in contact with certain people, and you can contact us through Twitter. But if any of the listeners out there are trying to contact me personally, your best bet is to shoot us emails because I do read those all the time. Sometimes I don't get a chance to check out Facebook or the Twitter the Twitter or stuff like that. Plus, when I get messages on the Facebook, it either goes to the official one or a message that doesn't get through to me. So just throwing that out there to anyone listening tonight, always email if you're trying to contact me personally.
I don't like Twitter. I tried using it before. It's a pain in the ass. And to reiterate what I was saying, do you remember when Roman Reigns won the Rumble and there was that boycott WWE Network?
Yeah.
There were so many people in there that weren't wrestling fans just talking shit the whole time, just sitting there because it was trending. It was something talked about, so they just had to put in their 2 cents. And I think that's what's happened with this whole Kelly Marie Tran stuff and stuff like that. You have people who aren't invested in it, don't know nothing about it, but then they put in their 2 cents like, oh yeah, it was racism, or yeah, you guys are babies and this and that. I think the people who agree with Ryan, Roundhead, whatever the hell his name is, the people who agree with him, I don't even think most of them are Star Wars fans. I've seen some Twitter comments from someone said, I've only seen The Last Jedi and I thought it was a fine movie. Why are people upset? It's like, oh, geez, you wouldn't understand why people are upset. And then you have other people just piggybacking off him because he's famous. If he was a nobody saying what he's saying, people would be shouting him down on – those same people would be shouting him down on Twitter. But because, he has a check mark next to his name and he's, a semi-famous director, people piggyback on him supporting him because, I don't know, it's really weird.
You're right, and people always want to go where the popular topics are because they want to feel like they're keeping up with the Joneses. It holds true for so many different things out there, and it's detrimental, especially in Star Wars, because it just keeps fueling the fire against the cause that they may agree with the whole, we don't want this and we want basically the SJW side of it. It's funny, like I said earlier, they're just destroying their fight before it even before it ever gets deeper, because the fight's already started, but the tactics are just dumb, just flat out just dumb.
Yeah, precisely. They are stupid. And like I said, I think the people that are trolling them now, wasn't there that fake account that was trying to bring in other people saying, oh yeah, we pushed down the Rotten Tomatoes score and all this other stuff, and it just sounded so fake and phony. And like I was saying, it wouldn't surprise me if a bunch of this stuff were just a bunch of trolls and a bunch of people just trying to create problems just so they could have their precious agenda left untouched. And it's just so disingenuous. It's I don't really understand these people's thinking. It's like, don't you want to watch stuff and be entertained? Why would you want to watch entertainment that comes off like a religious sermon. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, and they're all going to see what happens next year with Star Wars Episode 9. Like, that will be the determining factor. Like, hey, did this talking down to the fans and shit work? No. And if the movie bombs at the box office, we're going to hear months and months of how great it was. It's a misunderstood classic. People will come back around. And much like Solo, it will be forgotten. Yes, people will remember the 9th Star Wars movie exists. It's not going to be like Freddy Krueger in that one movie where all the kids forgot about him. But what will happen is people will go back to the original ones, and like the people will just recognize that the quality and the timeless nature is what kept those movies fresh in our minds. Like, those movies are still very fresh to this day. They're not very dated. They're edited in a modern sense. In many ways, they created modern editing. These new ones, just there's so many problems with them on technical levels, on storytelling levels, on following the in-world logic. Not about, some people are like, well, if you follow the logic, the story's resolved. No, it's not about resolving the story instantly. It's about what would Luke Skywalker have done. We've seen him go through these things and these beats, so why not continue these beats? Oh, because it serves this new story. Well, this new story fucking blows, so.
Well, if you're going to go with that, then why not set something in a distant future? If you're just going to just bypass, you just don't want to deal with Luke and Leia and stuff like that, do it 100 years in the future and change it up. But no, see, they want the old fans so they can make money. They want the nostalgia so they can get that cash. But at the same time, to detest the old fans and people who like Star Wars and the hardcore fans, but they don't want to give up that money. You can't have both. You either have to move on with what you're doing, with your agenda, all this other stuff, and make it known who you're catering to, or just give up these IPs and move on to something else that you want to do.
Yeah, put this shit in The Lion King. Actually, I like The Lion King, so don't put that shit in The Lion King. Put it somewhere else. Make up, like you said earlier, make up your own stuff. It's not very hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. And with Disney's, these monolithic companies, they could easily put the work in behind a character that they made up themselves and put it out and market it. They wouldn't even need to have the nostalgia or anything like that. They could market it as a whole new thing to different people and stuff like that, because let's be honest, the old fans aren't the people that they want. So why are you taking what these old fans like and all this other stuff and then just ruining it and making a half-assed product?
The old fans will spend a lot of money. It's funny, the old fans consume in the classic way. The older, that's why they put out magazines of this shit. Modern young audiences don't read magazines. They'll read shit on the internet. I remember the getting Nintendo Power and all that stuff as a kid. So when I see like a James Bond magazine or something pop up, I'll pick it up. That older audience will consume products more so than other younger people. So don't ruin that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's no reason to ruin any of that stuff for the older fans. Like I said, make something new, make something for somebody else. It's just really that simple. And I don't know why that they just don't do that. But then I can't say that I don't know why, because I know why. They want to have that guaranteed money. So by putting in these characters like Superman, etc., they know they'll make money, and they don't have to have that risk. And then when fans don't like it, they turn around and just blame the fans for being horrible people.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean to cut us off too short, but I'm getting pretty tired. You okay with this length? Do you want to go longer, or are you cool with this?
No, this is fine.
I kind of just got here.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. You came in at the very end of it.
I missed the message. I was caught up in the other gate. There's different gates. I was at another gate. I got stuck in the comics gate. There was a whole bunch of stuff happening over there, and I was checking it out. And when I looked at the message, it was a little late. I was listening to our friend here talk about how these people can't create. They just take a property, insert their values, wear it like a skin suit. When it fails, they blame whatever.
Well, actually, I had mistakenly sent out the link because this is a Ghetto Bible's Patreon thing, and I accidentally sent it to like a ton of people, And so
yeah,
originally,
but I'm on Patreon. I'm like at the.
Oh no, I know, but like everyone gets to request like a private appearance type of thing. This was his.
Really, I can do that. Can I do
Yeah.
that next time?
I have let's see, Friday's taken up, Sunday's taken up. I'm busy on Saturday.
You can have me in the morning if you want on the live show. On the I know you do sometimes in the mornings if you want to guest in the whenever. I'm just saying. You give me a heads up, I'm down.
Well, as of now, I'm trying to play with that morning format a lot, so I don't really know about where I'm going to go. Like, I'm trying to introduce the phone and all that kind of stuff too down the road. But at night, like, I can have you could come on the podcast proper. Like, all you guys got to do if you're a patron of a certain level is read your tiers, and you can come on the show and be on podcast or commentary. Like, when people request certain movies, it's because that's what they're requested to be on. So you can request that, man. You don't have to wait for the monthly hangouts. Like, you could come on and talk about stuff. You just gotta, pick a date and, shoot me a message on Patreon so I don't forget it and I have it written down.
Okay, I think I think I'm at the highest level on the Patreon. I mean, I big supporter of what you guys do. I get a lot of content, so I'm happy. I mean, if you look at the amount of hours and the money that you spend to go out to the movies, and the amount of money that you spend on these games and they suck. Versus the hours that I get from watching world-class bullshitters from all this stuff, I think it's fair. So I try to back as much as I can.
Oh, we appreciate it, dude. Believe me, I know. Like I say, I see everybody and stuff like that. And you just got a request to come on, man, and you're more than welcome. I mean, Ghetto Bible and I've been having a lot of fun.
Man, I'm sorry. I wish I would come in sooner. It looks like it was fun. I didn't log out. I didn't make it this time, but I'm hoping for the next time then.
Well, listen to this. This Wednesday is going to be another one of these things for one of our fans. He's requesting that we do a Dark Knight watch party, and he's going to be on there and stuff like that. So all you got to do is if you got an idea for a video or something that you want to be a part of.
Oh, I know exactly what I want.
What's that?
A fan film watch party.
All right. Well, you pick it, and we'll
stuff
watch
that's
them.
on YouTube that pretty much anybody. I don't know if you can cast, but you know what I'm talking about. That they got the mall film. They got the Troops. You remember Troops? That is kind of comedic. It's about all that stuff. I'm all about that.
Well, look at man. You give back to
positivity.
Me. Yeah, I want to have fun. I always have fun when I hang out with you guys on here, but I'll give you some open dates that I have, and we'll make a specific night for it. And
awesome.
We'll watch like this because the fan films aren't very long, right? They're like 20 minutes.
No, you could throw a whole bunch of them in there. I really like that anime one. There's one that's really good art anime. I mean, I know the Clone Wars you can get into, but at first it's kind of jarring. Now the anime that I've seen for Star Wars, oh my God, you're in from frame one.
Oh no, I'm saying we could watch like 3 hours worth of them together and talk about them. So
that would be so awesome.
Yeah, man. All you got, like I said, just shoot me a message and we will make that happen. Like I said, but Tuesdays through Thursdays are never doable because that's when I have to do recordings for the channel or Patreon exclusive stuff. But I will, like I said, I will give you our open dates and we'll make it happen as soon as possible. And we'll just have fun, man. Like, don't feel bad that you missed out on this one.
We can talk art too. I know you're into art, and I'm gonna listen to this one as soon as you close it down, so I know what went down here. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, man. It's always nice to talk to you on our monthly hangouts, and it's always nice to just shoot the shit with the fans. And it makes it's a different dynamic, which makes the show more fun. It's not always the podcast guys or the high council guys. It basically opens itself up for an infinite amount of possibilities. So if you guys are into that kind of stuff, you know how to get involved.
All right. Sounds great.
All right. So Ghetto Bible, would you like to plug anything or say goodbye to the people or anything like that?
Oh, just say that next time I'm on, I'd like to really talk a lot about Star Wars. I know everyone loves Star Wars, and I would love to see people who are listening now come into the chat, give their ideas and whatnot, and just make the whole show about Star Wars.
We could do something like that where we have like a core group of people and then a rotating group of people. That could be crazy. Like press F if you guys would like something like that. We can make that happen. We can make a lot of stuff happen. So
Yeah, I'm commissioning a painting. I was thinking about making a T-shirt and talking to y'all about it.
Cool.
Like from a pro, commissioning a painting from one of the pros. From the comics, people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I threw down. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I call it Jake Skywalker. It's parody, so they can't do nothing.
That's true. Well, I love the idea of parody. I got a couple parody ideas I'm going to be playing around with.
Well, if you wanna see like a basic of it, my version, because I do a little art myself. If you go to Mike S. Miller, I think it's a Blacklist Universe, if I'm not mistaken. He's a comic book pro. He just came out with Lone Star, and he's the guy I commissioned for the art. His Patreon, his Indiegogo got completely funded in 14 hours. It's just done. I know you want to get in on that for your comic.
Oh, I do, and I'm looking at his stuff right now. Oh, he did the DC. What is that book? The game, Injustice artwork.
He did. Yeah, he's done a couple. Yeah, Injustice. He's done a lot of stuff, man. This guy is like good. I'm
you got yourself a good artist.
Yeah, and I got him right before he did that because if I got him after, I think he would have been too busy. He would have said, "Nah, I'm not taking commissions right now." Maybe.
Now, are you going to be selling this shirt, or is it just a private shirt for you?
No, I want it to be like I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with patrons that bring ideas or whatever, or put it on my channel. I don't know. I want to sell it.
If you put it on your channel, you can tell people about it here, because that is one of the perks of Patreon. Like, you can plug something, we'll plug it for you on the channel. So I mean,
that sounds awesome. I want to do that crypto fashion thing, because you don't gotta have a surplus.
Yeah, you just get it all ready, and we'll help you get the word out there, man.
That sounds awesome, man. Love it.
So, Logan Michael, thank you for your super chat. Thanks for the stream, and have a good one. Like I always tell you, Logan Michael, have a better one. And Wild Warlock, I want a full sarcasm stream too. I expect nothing less from you guys. So, folks, thank you for watching. I'll be back on Tuesday morning with Good Morning Pop Culture. And then this week's High Council is here on World Class Bullshitters. So get excited. It's official. Pat from Please Rewind is going to be on the show, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I love
that guy.
Yeah, so make sure you don't miss the High Council this week. Okay. I also got Dion from World Class Bullshitters wants to come on. He really wants to talk to Jeremy about The Force Awakens. So if you've ever listened to our show's rants, you're going to hear a really good mini rant / debate. So
that's good.
Be prepared. And Commander Cody, thank you for super chat. T-shirt idea, Java with Jeff. Commander Cody, I'm playing around with stuff for my morning show. Like I said, guys, I didn't go the crypto fashion route. I went old school. I bought a T-shirt press. I'm getting all the machines. I'm going to do it myself. So basically, I can make the stuff and do way more. Like, I'm going to offer a lot of cool stuff from World Class Bullshitters starting in August. So it takes a little time to get it set up. I wanted to get it set up in June, but life happens, channel happens. It's a full-time gig. So thank you guys for being patient, but be prepared. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Sounds awesome.
All right, guys. Well, I will talk to you on Tuesday morning, and we're going to have a hell of a week here on World Class Bullshitters.